is not more like Aquaman and Wonder Woman. If you think about it, they really kind of have a mystical, Amazons and Atlanteans. That would be a cool little segue for Aquaman.
Yeah,
I definitely dig that.
they're like outsiders in the same
Exactly.
universe. You know what I mean? Same world, but they're still kind of in the outside. I don't know. Like I thought that if they did a Trinity movie, like you said, you have the big three, and then at the end you kind of show that they've inspired others, and then maybe in, say, the solo movies, you could begin some of the movies, or at some point in the movie, they could be teaming up with people in the movie, but it's not the focus of the movie. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like, when you read Spider-Man books, and he's like wrapping up a team up in the beginning of the book, and that's not necessarily the focus of the book. Like, I don't know, him and Moon Knight are taking down Vulture and, I don't know, Midnight or something. And that's just what happened today. That's not necessarily the big deal.
Yeah.
And because they all exist in the same universe, and we've read books where this was the case, and then it would kind of ease people into the concept of a world full of heroes, as opposed to every time they show a new hero, they're like, it's a huge deal, even though, you know what I mean, they've been there forever. Like,
Because no other hero exists. Like, no one else with these abilities and these powers has ever existed ever before this person.
it's just whack. Hey, let me. I guess I'll be formal since we're recording. I only just started, so there's some spots that we didn't. I guess the audience wouldn't have heard, but I have RYASUKE with me on one side. He's in Cali. And then I have Clarion Prime with me on the other coast over in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And yeah, today we felt like doing another one of those things that certain fans loved so much, where we just geek out, record it, and let you guys hear what we were talking about for however long. And yeah, we're gonna cover some stuff. The main thing, though, that we were that kind of inspired this was RYASUKE and I were talking about the failings of fans when it comes to different properties. And like, you guys already heard us start talking about the Justice League bullshit, the train wreck that's about to happen. That's this new Man of Steel / Justice League, just all this DC film shit. And for me, I've given up on them because, like, maybe they'll surprise me and that'll be cool. But for me, the animated universe is untouchable. The DC animated universe is like the pinnacle of what you should be doing with comic book film, and they're never going to touch it when it comes to the live action stuff. If they do, that'd be awesome, but I don't think they will. So for me, I'm just going to focus on those, I can watch Superman versus the Elite and, geek out as hard as I can. I can watch Flashpoint and, have my mind blown, several times ridiculously over and over and over every time I watch it.
And what's so funny about that is that the writing is really good, too. Like, it's you know what I mean? If you just bring it up a little bit more towards, cinematic level, it's like you don't even need to change anything. Of course, you got your action. Zack Snyder can do action. I have no problem with him doing action. But even those Justice League and even their movies, the writing is actually not bad, and some of the plots are not bad and things like that.
Like freaking the Crisis on Two Earths.
Yes.
That was amazing. That wasn't a bad movie at all. The only thing that was bad about the movie was that they chose a freaking Baldwin brother to be Batman. And, and it was like, I don't know. But he wasn't horrible, don't get me wrong. It's still, once you get used to it, you're just like, okay. But
I like Batman Superman Apocalypse.
Yeah, that one was good. That's the movie that made me start doing YouTube reviews. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, that just, I don't know, but it just feels like instead of taking their cues from all of that good stuff, they're letting David Goyer freaking decide for them, and freaking Christopher Nolan decide for them what is best for the DC universe, and it's pretty stupid. They just should leave that shit alone, Get people who really give a shit about these characters and understand them, as opposed to people who wrote meh kind of stories. You know what I mean? Like David Goyer's stories were kind of they were okay. The art kind of helped, because the visuals were so good in some of those books that you were like you kind of paid attention, and your attention was kept better through the art, not necessarily the story. Whereas these films, it's like, come on, you got Zack Snyder who can give you the visual spectacle that you need. You just need to give him some quality shit to work with, and they're not giving him quality shit to work with. It's just weird. You know, I watched Man of Steel about 4 times, and I don't hate the movie at all, but I see a lot of those points that people are making. It's just, for me, the itch that I wanted scratched was I wanted Superman hitting a bad guy that could hit him back. And I got that, and I wanted to see like the level taken up several notches from Superman 2. So I got that. So I kind of I put all that other stuff to the wayside, but you know, when you watch it over and over, you start seeing other things pop out, and I see the fact that there's no jokes, there's no downtime.
Right. Can I jump in right quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Superman, someone brought up an interesting point that I thought was kind of compelling about, you know, Superman killing in that movie. And I'll even want your feedback on this, Scott, is that myself, I didn't have a problem with him killing, because this was, like, by this point, I was like, well, I think he's going to have to kill. Like, when I saw him actually do it, I was a little, you know, like, wow, he really did it, but it didn't, like, shake my whole foundation of what Superman was.
Yeah. From
knowing. But what somebody said going forward as far as Man of Steel Superman is that now that he knows what it's like, likes to kill, like what it feels like, that is the reason why he doesn't kill anymore.
Exactly.
That could easily be the way they go with that.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. There had to be like a moment that put him on that path, because otherwise, what would be stopping him? I mean, he's so strong, he probably, realistically, would have probably killed people by accident.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
You know, for them to actually give you a moment, yeah, I didn't care either. That kind of stuff, I was just like, hey, he's like Superboy. He's figuring the shit out right now, and I get it. And they show you, he literally put the costume on, and like in 2 or 3 days, the world was going to shit. So he really had to like figure out something, and it may not be pretty. So I got that part, you know, and I didn't even care about that. It's just, you know, as you're going through the ride, you're kind of like, wow, there's no, like, even the light points were still kind of, like, not depressing, but they were still kind of just meh. Like, everything was just,
Yeah.
And, I mean, it wasn't as bad as the Dark Knight trilogy, because I swear, by the end of that, if you watch all 3 of those movies in a row, you'll want to kill yourself.
Yeah.
For real, it's true though.
For certain people, they're not going to believe seeing the Dark Knight Rises movie.
You didn't miss anything. You didn't miss shit.
I've still never seen that either. 1 and 2, yeah. So Batman Begins and Dark Knight, seen those. Dark Knight Rises, nope.
It gets worse. It goes from like good to, you know, good to kind of good to worse. Like, people give the Dark Knight so much props, but then they ignore all the issues with the movie. You know, all the falling, all the different times people fall ridiculous heights and don't die. You know, all.
My whole thing was, oh, go ahead.
This is realism.
My whole thing is that I saw tons of reviews before. I got close like maybe 6 times. That's how many, because, you know, the movie was just in the theater. I got close like 6 times to like breaking down, and then like, you know, some spirit told me not to go see it. Like, wait, don't buy the ticket. You know,
save your money.
Your shoulder.
Right. So I saw like honesty trailers or whatever, or honest trailers.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen that?
Oh yeah, I love those guys. Love them. Yeah.
Oh my God, that was so great.
Starring Cabbage Patch Face. Eye wart.
Yeah, baby boobs.
Oh man.
But he's supposed to be the world's greatest detective.
Yep.
You know, and this was my complaint about the movie, like, from what I heard, from what people were saying, and how, like, Catwoman's deceiving him. Like, he was just being deceived all the time.
Yeah.
And sure enough, if Batman doesn't figure things out, which I actually love, he did, like, where's the detective work that we see, even in the animated ones, right?
Exactly.
Like, where's the detective work for that, right? And if he doesn't know, he puts in the work, and that's when we love Batman, where he's investigating, he's researching, and he's, you know, they show this stereotypical montage whenever they show some other agent or somebody, you know what I mean, doing the work. They're like
exactly.
on the computers and
hacking and shit, yeah.
You know what I mean? And then they figure the shit out, and then at the end of the movie, Batman is supposed to have every contingency plan. Like, you know, he's up on the roof, and he knows about the hostages. He knows that the helicopter's coming, but he already blocked the signal, so it's not coming. Then he's got, like, 2 booby traps set up because he knows how the villain thinks. So,
exactly. He's like I was saying, he's like the Jigsaw of superheroes. Like he knows every aspect of what you're going to do, and he's going to make sure you fall into all those traps, which is kind of fun. But it's also kind of annoying. But in the live action version, it could have been fun because this is why people are afraid of him. But you didn't get that. And coming from Nolan, that's what's the biggest letdown. And people are only seeing it, a year and some change late, or a year after Rises, and like 2 years after The Dark Knight and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I think they should have stopped with Batman Begins. I would have been happy if they did.
I would have loved if you figured out Talia was Talia. Oh, go ahead, Scott. Go ahead.
So you can't stop when it's called Batman Begins. It was like they were practically setting you up for the trilogy right there.
Yeah, actually, I know.
Let me come back to the Superman point real quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of agree with, again, like I've watched bits and pieces of the movie. I still haven't seen the whole thing. So I have to, full disclosure, I have to give that out. But I kind of agree in some respects to what Max Landis said, as far as how like Superman handled himself there. The fact that like he was just learning to be Superman is an incredibly valid point, and he's facing somebody who could just as easily kill him as he could like thousands of people.
Yep.
So the way he phrased it was like, Zod was another adult.
Yeah.
Superman was fighting an adult, so therefore he had to go to that extreme to adequately like take care of the threat.
Yeah, exactly.
Now again, if he was fighting like even people with powers that couldn't survive being punched through a building, I guess he wouldn't kill that person.
Yeah,
this guy could.
Yeah, I agree.
Was clearly not going to stop, could not be reasoned with. So what do you do?
Yeah, exactly. What do you do? Yeah.
Especially Scott when he had that big anime tentacle. Oh, you haven't seen it? Turn it. Never mind.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, well, but I mean, you know what I'm saying, right? Strydent, the tentacle robot monster that was like, or robot.
Oh yeah, the defense thing for the world engine. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was clear on like Indonesia or Indochina or whatever that thing was. And then the other one was in Metropolis, and I was like, okay, he's already killing thousands of people. So your point is valid. He was already killing people because it was like lifting cars, and if you even slow it down, you see people like levitating up, right? Straight in, and then they're like smashed.
They go up and then they just get smashed to the ground. So yeah, he really had little choice in, people. That's why when people keep saying he himself, Superman, killed people, I'm like, what movie were people watching? Clearly, Zod was killing everybody.
Yes.
That whole extraterrestrial 9/11 recreation. It was Zod. He was smashing the Earth so he could kill people because he said he's going to rebuild Krypton on Earth. It's just blatant. It's just that all the shit leading up to all that was so kind of dim and kind of there was no moment where like the crowd cheered. Everybody just sat there and watched. They just were like, huh.
That was the biggest thing that I also felt at the end, that there should have been something, because, and we've talked about this too, that some of these geeks, and kind of goes into what this podcast is kind of going into, is that if you're trying to get your serious drama, or I'll just say it that way, your serious drama from comic book movies, I think you're missing out on the human experience.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I really do. Like, read a freaking book or just watch, you need to expand your horizons.
Yeah, watch dramas. Go watch some real dramas.
Pictures.
Exactly.
Can I color this?
Like, do not draw pictures in the margins. Do not, just read.
Just read the book, the chapters. Get a bookmark and go ham on this book. That's all you need to do.
And let me tell you guys, I'm here in California, and of course they have a lot of cons, and the San Diego Comic-Con is here, and of course I've been there probably about 4 times. I haven't been there, like 16 times, but 4 times is good, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've kind of stopped because it's just so huge now or whatever. And you just hear these guys talk like, oh, I felt the realism, and it was just so gritty, and I felt it just really changed my life, and it was just, oh my god.
God, I hope a superhero movie doesn't change your life.
If it does, then that's kind of sad.
You know?
It's like I never, because like again, I'm with you. Like I don't look to a superhero movie for realism or even comics that deal with superheroes in general. Like it's escapist entertainment.
Exactly.
Right.
It's like it doesn't need to look like real life. The more it looks like real life, the less interested I am in it.
Yeah.
Even if it's like real to the point where, you know, nobody has powers, but it's, you know, all like whatever, like secret societies, like government agencies, all that sort of stuff like that. If that's all it is, I would like to see, you know, some stuff that Cobra would pull up, like crazy weapons or like, you know, like machines and stuff like that. Like just go that extra mile. Again,
exactly.
Like,
and you know me,
that's what I want for my G.I. Joe, by the way.
Exactly.
I want to go there. I want them to go there so bad.
Exactly. We want Cobra to be pulling some Mars tech out of their ass to attack the UN with or something. You know what I mean? Like shit that we've never seen before except probably anime. I want to see Cobra using that to attack the different militaries of the world or the governments of the world, and then have the Joes like Contra trying to fight that shit.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
It's like the Joes, that's the issue too. It's like the Joes were always better trained but under-equipped.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the perfect explanation, because there's like a handful of really advanced weapons that the Joes have, whereas Cobra's entire arsenal is advanced shit.
Wait a minute, Scott. That should be their tagline. That's I see why you're a writer. That's awesome. G.I. Joe.
Because they had the guys. I mean, they wouldn't lose their head, like in a fight. Like as soon as stuff started blowing up around them, you know, you got everybody like from Cobra Commander on down. As soon as an explosion happens, like, oh, we gotta get out of here.
I know. Retreat. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Commando.
And what was the deal with that shit, man? For the longest time, I thought he was African. And then like, well, the voice actor is black, but that was the worst fucking Scottish accent I've ever heard in my life. What the hell?
Yeah, I'm like, I definitely thought he was black. Okay, come on, like, black guy, put a big silver mask on him. Like, sure, whatever. But then you find he's a McCullough. I'm like, what?
McCullough, like...
Yes, I did the same thing. I did a WTF. I was like, what?
Like,
I thought he had, like, the seal scars on his face, and he put that mask over.
Yeah.
So he's South African? Like, nope. He's just plain old Scottish. Man.
Since he was all over Baroness, I thought he was a brother for sure.
I know, right? You can't blame him. Can't blame him.
The same thing. Like, somebody needs to really hit that. You know what I mean? Like, Baroness, yes, throw darling. It's like, Baroness would get it.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's like, and every time, you know, it was about to happen, like, bloop, bloop, dashed her out.
I know. He said she had something in her eye.
Yes.
I was like, what?
And cosplay girls dress up as Baroness. Yes. Man.
See, that's why you go to cons. I mean, for, you know, the sharing with fans.
I go for the books.
I know, right? Exactly. But yeah, man, like I agree with you. That's what's been that shit. That's my complaint. Whenever I was on any of these G.I. Joe community pages, people will always like customize their Joes to look like fucking Black Hawk Down or, you know, the Hurt Locker or some shit. And I'm like, you totally missed the goddamn point. Like, if that's what you're doing, then you need to be like customizing or using the regular Joes that don't have names or don't have, you know what I mean? Like that exists. That is actually a part of the collection. Is there's these, you know, 12-inch Joes that represent modern military the way they are.
The lineage of G.I. Joe, yeah.
Yeah.
Go further back. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, if that's what you like about them, then stick with it. No one's dissing you. But don't come to like the real American hero shit or the Pursuit of Cobra shit and you're making Clutch look like, you know, some random generic, not to diss any soldiers in reality, but what I'm saying is just like, you know, G.I. Joe is not reality. And that's the point. And people miss it. And that's the problem. Ever since we had that shift in like the early 2000s where all of our fantasy things started going into like realism, they started trying to infuse it with this bullshit realism, we started losing a lot, man. Like a lot of the charm and the character that these franchises had is just kind of it just disappeared because that's what they took away in order to add the realism, because they're saying, you know, the personality, the thing that you went to this franchise for, if you take that away, it could be real. And as soon as you take that away, it's generic now, and it's just like everything else, and it's not interesting. And where the fans fail, this is what we were talking about before, RYASUKE, is that freaking they just eat it up. And I've pointed this out a billion times with a lot of different things, but it's so frustrating. And like, say what you said when we were talking, man, about, you know.
So I kind of made this video recently about, I don't know if you heard about this guy. It's just a rumor, and it's about Wonder Woman being Kryptonian.
Yeah, all the Amazons.
I wish you could see the look on my face. Because there are no words. Is this just to make everything easier for the cinematic universe to just have everything that's not human come from the same place?
Exactly.
Very good. Very good. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, God.
The rumor is, and it's kind of a broad spectrum, and you're already going there, is that, I know you haven't seen the movie, but Strydent knows what I'm talking about, you know, and you've probably seen reviews, but there's a ship that was there that I called the Fortress of Solitude. Basically, that's what it was, right?
Yeah.
Strydent, basically, the ship was, okay. And it was already open, and Russell Crowe had explained, you know, he was like a construct AI that, you know, we sent ships all over the universe, and one happened to land on Earth millions of years, you know, millennia ago, and that only women survived. And since they don't have, you know, sex the way we do, they actually have these, like, fetus...
Like gestation tubes, yeah.
You know, that they only reproduce women. Henceforth, Kryptonian / Amazon women, and they've been here for... And then that's it. And then they're trying to say that the Kryptonians knew, you know, the Guardians, who were part of, you know, that's how you get Green Lantern, that's how you get Martian Manhunter, and it's all just this nexus going towards Kryptonian and Superman.
Yeah,
and that's how I get a headache.
Exactly.
That's how I get agita, and that's how I get a freaking sick feeling in my stomach.
I haven't even told Strydent this part either. This is all part of this, you know, nexus rumor, like all things being centered around Superman and Kryptonian, whatever. That Wally West is supposed, you know, because remember he has an accident. Apparently he found some piece of, I don't know, they're saying Kryptonian technology or energy source, and boom, that's how he gets super speed.
Oh my God!
So they have so little confidence in superhero in Superman movies, in like the performance of Superman at the box office, but they're still willing to wrap the entire universe
around him. It's lazy storytelling. That's what it is. Because
he's now the black hole, like the gravitational pull that is going to be holding together your entire universe.
It's true.
That's everything. Yeah. But these are all rumors.
Yeah.
But, you know, hopefully it's not true. But anyway, I did a video because I read this and I was like, what? This is just the craziest shit. And sure enough, I was reading some people were okay with this. And more people were okay with this. And I was like, and then I had to make a video. It's like 8 minutes long. And it was just talking about, okay, where are the pure geeks? I guess. I mean, these new geeks that come up, they buckle like a belt. Who stands their ground anymore? It's like they just accept anything these corporations throw at them.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's why they don't take them seriously. That's why they fuck you over in your games, fuck you over in the movies, fuck you over in comic books. It's like, oh, you guys are gonna whine, but you're gonna forget about it, and then you're gonna spend the money.
Exactly.
Because if we complain, then all the stuff will go away. But it's bad stuff, so who cares?
Exactly. And we've heard that shit so much.
Yes.
You got to support the industry. Like, no, we don't. If they keep putting out dog shit, then we can stop. We just give up and we focus on something else. I mean, shit, didn't I made videos where I showed like Mattel screwed up with the DC Universe Classics line, so I'm going back to collecting Marvel Legends. Like, you know, and if Marvel Legends suck, I'll just continue with my Marvel Selects. Like, I'm not going to just keep putting money into shit that sucks, because after all, I am paying for this. You know?
You're not a fan.
No, I'm not. I'm not a real fan. You know us real fans.
Yeah, I'm a fan of myself.
Exactly.
And what I mean by that is that, for example, I confuse people, right? So I'm a huge Seattle fan, meaning I love the city. I think it's fantastic. It's one of I actually wish I was there more than California. That's how much I love Seattle. And of course, I like the Seahawks right now too. They're doing really good in football and that sort of thing.
How
and
convenient. Yes, now you tell people you're a Seahawks fan.
Always. I'm going back into the at least back into the early '90s.
I got you.
Sort of thing. But originally, I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, so there is some disconnect there. But my point is that I loved my 360. I didn't have a PlayStation 3 for the longest. People know that as far as personal friends and people on my friends list. The Xbox One comes out. I do not like it at all. And they're like, but you love Seattle and you love the 360. Yeah, but if I don't like what they're doing, their decisions they're making, I am not a lemming. I don't blindly follow any company. You know what I mean? I follow my personal best interests.
Exactly.
And if any company does something that I personally don't agree with, or they're trying to get money and do all these other things that I don't like, I can step away. And sure enough, I'm more interested in the PlayStation 4 than the Xbox. But people are like, but Microsoft in Seattle, fuck that. You know what I mean? I can like Seattle, and yes, I'm supporting the PlayStation 4. My brain can't wrap that around. I don't understand. You're supposed to follow logos and symbols, If you see a Batman logo, you're supposed to buy it no matter what it is. No.
Exactly.
No.
Then you just put your hand on their shoulder, look them in the eye, and go, give it time. You'll understand.
I know, when your balls drop, you'll figure it out.
you just walk away. Just leave it at that, because you can't have a conversation. You're not going to educate people, because I would like to even know where that frame of mind develops. I get
it's brainwashing. It's slow brainwashing. You know how it works.
I get it if it's if you're talking about you watch other teams and other countries, and how they are about soccer, individual clubs that they like. I get that. It's people from your area, you followed it, dad, granddad, mom, grandmom all followed the same team. That's fine. That's cool. These things have been around for 10 years.
Exactly.
They've kind of sucked as far as reliability. Like I said, for whatever the numbers are, I'm on my third PS3, and I have all the goodwill I would have had towards Sony is gone right now. Actually, Strydent, it left last night.
Oh, what happened?
Wow.
No.
Well, wait. Finish what you were gonna say first, and then we'll go into that part too.
No, but I could never just blindly follow something. And like you said, for one thing, this is something that you're investing money in. It's not like you show up, they give you something as in for free.
Yeah, and it's thanks, guys. Thanks, you're awesome.
No, you have to pay for everything you get. So you know what? If it's not up to snuff, if I don't like it, then I'm not going to participate in it. I can't back it, because you're right. Otherwise, then you're not a person. Then you're just a walking wallet.
Exactly. And that's the way they see people to begin with. And a lot of these little kids that are spending mom and dad's money or spending their disposable income don't realize this shit. And that's what these companies are banking on. They know that kids, they have this weird brand loyalty. And they kind of bank on it. They know that that's the way that they're going to sell shit. How else could you get special editions of games that haven't proven that they were even worth a damn yet? It's the only industry that does that shit. Here's a special edition of a game that's new, brand new, out the box, first try, and it's already got $100 special edition, and the shit didn't even come out yet. You don't even know if it's going to sell 100 copies or 100 million copies, and you already got a special edition? That's bullshit.
And all it's got is some packed-in stuff from China that cost them 7 cents to make. But
exactly.
They're charging an extra $30.
Yeah, or more. Like Call of Duty and all its dick hardened editions, and the balls in your jaws edition that always cost $150. If you're really hardcore, it's come on, guys, that's stupid.
The pubic.
This shit gets on my nerves, man. When I worked at GameStop, I used to hate it because I'm do you guys even know if the game is going to be good yet? And they'd be like, man, it's Call of Duty. It's always awesome. But then they'd come back.
It's like the one that came out before. So obviously, if you like that one, you're going to like the new one.
Exactly. And then like months later, people would come in and be like, eh. Or even worse is when they pre-order the freaking special edition, like almost, you know, as soon as it's you know, mentioned or whatever or announced. And then the week that the game comes out, they bring it back to trade it in for something else. And I'm like, what was the point in getting that special edition with shit that you could actually get cheaper at other places? Like, was it Modern Warfare 2 that came with like night vision goggles? And they were like the cheap ass night vision goggles you could get from like Toys R Us or like Dick's Sporting Goods or whatever. You know, it was like these things were cheap. I mean, most people, they said they broke on them like the night they got them. And I'm like, but you paid $100, maybe more, for that whole set. And it wasn't proven that it was going to be awesome. You didn't know the quality of the extra shit you were getting. And you still just threw that money at them. But it's the way it is.
Well, can I ask a question for both you guys? It's still dealing with gaming.
Uh-huh.
Sort of thing. And I think we kind of talked about it a little bit, Strydent, but, you know, I guess here's a little bit more in-depth. How do you guys feel about the future? Because I'm hearing more games are coming, like console games are coming forward. Of course, it's been on PC. Mm-hmm. It's definitely the way of tablets, and that is free to play.
Oh, fuck that shit. That's another example of what I was just talking about. It's them having the confidence in gamers, you know, as a I don't know, a little group, as a society or whatever, that they're going to pay no matter what because they want whatever it is they're selling, even if they don't know the quality of the end product. And there it is. I mean, how many shitty games have been turned free to play? Even games that are proven, that have been around for a long time and are kind of failing, like Final Fantasy, they're even going free to play. So, you know, I just...
I heard that Rise... like game has like well, not Rise, I'm sorry, that's actually $60. But no, what I really dislike about free-to-play games, and Sony has a lot of them for their PlayStation 4, mm-hmm. because they're just, you know, PC ports and things like that.
Yeah.
Is that, I know this is going to sound kind of weird because it's more of like a open world kind of thing, but it's like there's no end, and you're just constantly grinding, and you have to pay just a full experience of a $60 game.
Because they're trying to get money out of you, especially when you're not paying anything. When you're not paying in at all. When literally it's free to play. So ground floor, there's no money.
Yeah,
that's part of the hook. These things are designed to go on forever. They're designed to get more and more difficult, more and more cheap, but somehow keep you engaged. Almost like that crack that like they're passing out now, Candy Crush Saga. It's like I have people. There are people, and this is also the appeal.
My mom plays that game. My mom plays that.
I was going to mention the exact thing. That's also the hook of those. Like that game, because of how you actually interact with it, because of the gameplay itself, and because of the fact that you can use it on tablets and smartphones, and you have people playing that game that aren't gamers traditionally. Exactly. You have mothers and grandmothers and like people that just will not sit in front of a TV with a console and play a game, but they will play this. Mm-hmm. And like, okay, I'm going to transition to answer this question now. Now, as far as moving toward consoles, let me let you know a little secret. Can't have a free-to-play game on a console. There is not a single game you can get on a console that will be free to acquire.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Doesn't matter whether it's on the PlayStation Network, Xbox Live, you pick it up in the store. It will cost you some form of currency to actually play this game on a system. Now, if through the playing of this game, I'm asked to spend money over the course of it, no. I already spent money. Like, I look at this, like with console games, since you want to make these things basically like PCs now, they need to be like PC games in the sense that you pay, how they were in like the 80s and 90s. You pay for the game. A significant amount of extra content would be made available, which I would then pay for.
Yeah.
Not like 2 outfits looking at you, Capcom.
Take it.
It's like, yeah, I'm just, oh, look, you can give Ryu a green belt in a black uniform. Oh, $5. What?
or those packs where it was like it's alternate costumes for like 2 or 3 of the characters in the game. Like, really?
And it'd be $5.
And it'd be like $5 or $6. You're like, really? You couldn't give me like $1 per character or something? Like, come on. There's like, what, 30 characters in the game now? Something like that. At least give us, you know, half and half. Don't have us paying forever, but that's what they want. And those idiots in the wonderful fighting game community, yes, you guys are idiots, I'm sorry, you keep paying for it. And then like years later, then you complain, but you've already given the company your money. And that's where the disconnect is. You vote with your wallet. When they see no money coming out of your wallet going into their wallets, then they'll be like, shit, we fucked up. We want to make money. We got to make them happy. And they'll stop. And they'll do it the right way. But
that's my feeling as far as that. It's like, and you're right. There's reinforcement there.
Mm-hmm.
So exactly, they make these things available and people actually buy them. Then they'll just keep making them available. The worst part is that, like you mentioned, Rise before. You should have kept going with that because that game does have microtransactions in the story mode. Every single game that you buy should, unless it comes out of the box, multiplayer only, should have a fully functional single player, hopefully co-op, but at least single player campaign that I can complete from beginning to end without spending another dime.
Exactly. It should show off all the...
If you've heard of that game, Titanfall, that's multiplayer only.
Yep.
Yeah, that's multiplayer only, but like I said, we've known that for months, so I'm like, all right, fine, you get that, you're getting your multiplayer combat, but they said they're working some sort of story in between. I'm like, well, that's fine. You at least said it's only multiplayer. You've been upfront about that.
Yeah.
But as far as Rise, it's like, first off, this game was supposed to be out for the friggin' 360. They push it back to this one because whatever.
Reasons.
Reasons. And now all of a sudden, and I wish I could say, like, you know, where these things like appeared, but it's like, but just to even hear that, like, yes, there are options for what? Like, you would walk up. I'm trying to imagine this now. So let's say you're done storming the beaches of not Normandy, because even though you are, oh my God, why did they take that scene from Saving Private Ryan? Like, so you're done storming the beach, and what? You'll be able to look into a room and see that there's equipment there, but the door is locked. But if you pay $2, you'll find the key.
No, Scott. Okay.
Better equipment.
Okay, the one that it's a free-to-play game for, I have to say it that way, for the Xbox 360. I'm a big fan of hack and slash games. I really love them. I love brawlers and I like fighters. Those 3 games I play more so than even first-person shooters. I'm really heavily into those. And so there was this one game called Arise Hand of, or Send or something like that. Hand of, like, that's literally how it's spelled at the end. K-U-L or something like that. And anyway, it's this fantasy game, hack and slash, real time, right? Mm-hmm. You know, not turn-based. And it turns out, as all with free-to-play games, you have, you know, microtransactions, or you can buy packs and things like that. Now, the funny thing is that I really hate this game is that everything you wear and all the weapons you use degrade. Meaning, like, as you fight, your sword can break, your axe can break, your helmet can break, your boots can break, your glove can break.
Wow.
And the points, or I'll just say the money that you earn killing, free to play, I never spent any money for this. You have to use that money to repair. So you're constantly repairing all these things that you're wearing and your weapons even before buying to get another sword. Now here's the great part that you're talking about. I was fighting and I killed like 2 bosses, right? And then next thing you know, I'm in the middle of this fight, this pop-up comes up like I'm on Internet Explorer, and it goes, bling! There's a new axe on sale in the store. Come by right now, $19.95.
That's what I was afraid of. I'm afraid that's how it probably works in Rise too.
I was like, a way to break the immersion of this fantasy mystical game that you got a sales, you know, infomercial in the middle, and it's like so big and so, you know, it's just distracting. And I just turned it off. I deleted it, and I go, wow, I just wasted, you know, what, 4 hours playing this thing? It was horrible. So that's how I popped up, and I was just like, so this is the future of free-to-play games, like,
yes,
or gaming.
That's how you're going to have free-to-play on a console at the very least. I mean, apparently there's some horrible offenders, like, you know, in whatever iOS and computer too. But it's like consoles can't do it. Like I said, because there's no first off, there's no free. It's like the Killer Instinct thing. I was like, oh, you're gonna pay like, you know, $20 for a character we hope you can actually use. Because you're only getting one. We hope you use and enjoy.
Yeah.
Because other than that, you'll have to just pay $5 for a shot in the dark at another character that I may not like.
Right. And this is supposed to be us advancing.
Exactly.
And things like that. They're taking less. We're getting less, and things are getting more futuristic as far as like, oh, you know, we've got better systems to do all these things, but we're going to give you less content.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, there's another issue that came with it. It was kind of similar to what you were talking about as far as that game. It's when you have the ability to upgrade your equipment or in any way progress through the game with real money versus what you earn in game.
Was that Diablo and Dead Space?
Ran into that issue.
Yeah.
Because they had with the crafting system, you could get materials and like build new weapons. Now you could either do that with materials you could find in game, or you could pay to pick up them. They pay to get the materials, I guess, and you would get the weapons. I'm like, so now you've got a problem where literally constructing the game has to accommodate this.
Yeah.
So how often are you going to get these credits? How often are you going to earn that in-game, whatever it is, that in-game resource that will allow you to do this? Because if the other option is for you to pay money, I got a feeling they may be a little slow with giving me the credits that I would need otherwise, maybe to kind of entice me.
Exactly.
This is me playing devil's advocate. I'm not in the developer's room. I don't know like what the discussion is, but I know human nature because I'm a human. Like, and I know if I know if the whole point of this is me making money.
I don't know, Scott. You might have evolved. I think we all pretty much evolved a little bit more.
I know, right? The freaking screen has been lifted. Well, the veil has been lifted.
There's a couple years that I'm missing, so it's possible I was just fitted with cybernetics and never realized.
It's just frustrating because, you know, more people need to see this, especially older gamers, because we have the money. So we're paying, we're kind of carrying this industry, and we're the ones who saw a lot of the industry grow from, you know, bleeps and blips on our ColecoVisions and in televisions and whatever to what it is now. So we know, like, the worth of all this stuff. We know how hard it is to do it. We understand. We've seen the evolution. We respect it, but we're not getting anything. More and more they make the games for this like in-between age, you know, the not quite full-on teen, but not quite 100%, you know, little kid. And it's like
they can't admit that they're making Call of Duty for teens.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we all know they are, but they can't admit that.
I mean, and it I don't know. It's just frustrating. That's why, like I said, I told everybody beforehand, I don't give a shit about the new systems. I'm still working with my old stuff. I'm doing just like I did with when we moved from VHS to DVD. I'm gonna, now that you know, my PlayStation 3 is no longer the shit or whatever. It's no longer the new thing. I can get all those games I wanted to get for a good price. Exactly. You know, I've been going back and getting Dreamcast games. I even picked up some Saturn games. You know, I know you like some old fighting games, man. I've been looking at old fighting games. I think I picked up Alpha 2 on the Saturn, and I'm trying to get another Action Replay so I can play my Japanese version of X-Men vs. Street Fighter for the Saturn, because that's why I bought a Saturn in the first place. So yeah, I'm not concerned.
Don't forget, for the Dreamcast too, you got a lot of good, you know, fighting games. You got the Power Stone, you got the Rival Schools.
Yeah. I need Project Justice, man. I need that game.
Project Justice, yes, that was one of my favorites.
And I need Tech Romancer. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
That game was awesome. It's just
Japanese version of Rival Schools for like PS1. Like that's how much of a
nice
Japan-phile one I was.
Do you remember when we had the Japanese version of Tekken 2? Way back when, you, me, Mo, and all of them, we used to play it like after school all the time. You had to do the trick where you put the American game in, and then when the PS logo comes up, you got to open it up real quick and switch the discs and close it. Man, yeah, we had that game like almost a year before it came out in the U.S.
Hey,
Don't. Yeah, what's up?
Like you were, Strider, you made it sound like you're Indiana Jones. Remember when he had to move the head? Like,
I know it.
Gotta wait timing just right. Like swap.
Yeah, man, it was fun, man.
It's like, watch this trick. Skill, baby, skill.
I know, right? Skills.
I didn't even know I put it in a Japanese game. That's how good I was.
Yeah, we had a friend who he used to like, you know, get games from Chinatown or I think it was Chinatown that he was getting stuff from. And
we used to take a train up there.
Yeah, and yeah, he was the one that hipped us to. Well, he hipped me to it. I didn't even know you could do it because I was busy playing like, what was I playing? I think I was playing like Omega Boost and no, Omega Boost wasn't out yet. I was playing Alpha 1 and I was playing like the Street Fighter the movie, which played like Super Turbo and shit. Yeah, I wasn't really into. Oh, and Bloody Roar 1. I love that damn game. We were playing the hell out of that. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, Tekken." I was playing Tekken 2 in the arcade, but I didn't know when it was coming out for the home systems. And then one day I went over and he had it. And I'm like, "Holy shit, let's play!" But yeah, man, it's like the magic is gone. No one gives a shit anymore. You know how everything's done. You know, you see the business side. That's the part that bothers me, is how like so much of the business side of the video game industry is advertised. So people get to see all that stuff. And so you've got fans that talk about the games like marketing execs, but you're on the other side of this equation. So you shouldn't even know all that shit because that's like besides the point. You know what I mean? Like the marketing side should be the part that the consumer never touches, because if it's done right, then we got the game in our hands, and that's it, and we enjoy it, and that's it, because it's a game. We're supposed to play it and have fun. We're not supposed to be caught up in the politics of how this shit happens, and you know how it doesn't happen, and
that's true.
It's
a little bit of transparency is fine. But
yeah,
you're right. Like I don't need to know every single detail of the development cycle, and like you said, who's leaving and what happened here, and that's why I don't like hearing about games too early.
Mm-hmm.
It's like don't like oh we're just started working on like now define just started. Like just started could be still pulling a team together. Just started could be you know you're developing models and like that. There's a whole lot of area where just started could cover.
Exactly.
It's like, but no, I don't want to hear about it until I can see moving pictures.
Exactly.
Like literally, like is there video of it? Like, you know, can you play a level? All right, now I want to know. If you can't play a level yet, don't even bother telling me.
Yep.
So where do you guys see the future of geekdom going?
Geekdom?
You know, like 10 years.
Critical mass, and then it's going to disappear.
It has to go critical, because the only reason why it's gaining, why it has to the only reason why it has prominence, the only reason why it has the prominence it has now is because geeks spend money.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like that's it. It's like why are there so many like old toy properties and comic properties making movies now? Because geeks will go see it.
Yeah. Everybody's got a classics line. Ninja Turtle classics.
Yeah.
He-Man classics. It's like, yeah, come on, guys.
Aren't they making a live-action version of that? Michael Bay, right? Or is it...
Of the Turtles? Yeah. Yeah.
They were. I haven't heard about it in a while. They have to still be making it, but I haven't heard about it in a while.
They're still making it.
I think they're just going to be mum on that for a little bit, because that everything that they put out about that seemed to be going over like a lead balloon. So,
well, that floats, right?
I was like, "Yep, hey, MythBusters did prove it." No, they tried, but it's like, oh, and it was like I remember a friend of mine asked me, "He's like, hey, guess who's going to be April O'Neil?" And I looked at him, I'm like, "No,"
because we all know it's only one person.
He's like, "Yeah," I'm like, "God damn it." It's like Megan Fox, really? Yep. I'm like, damn.
It's funny.
Because, you know, when I think, you know, intrepid reporter, like always like hustling to get the scoop, you know, quicker witted than everyone else in the room.
Yeah, we think
I think Megan Fox.
Yeah. Likable. She's supposed to be likable too. That's the biggest part of it. And it's like, yeah, she is not likable. I mean, I guess she'd be likable if you could keep her quiet enough, long enough to, you know, handle your business and then, you know, leave. So
I thought she was great in that Call of Duty Ghost commercial.
Because she didn't say anything?
Pretty much.
As long as she's around to not talk, she's awesome.
She should play a mute.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
But yeah, that's where I see it. It's like eventually, like revenues are going to drop. it's like you already have companies now, like game companies now. We've lost a ton, and like I give a shit. But the game industry has lost a ton of companies in this generation alone. That trend's only going to continue. I read something on The Escapist yesterday where like Capcom is already crying about it taking like 8 to 10 times more work to make a good-looking game on this system, like on this current gen, than it did on PS3 and 360. I'm like,
yeah, we didn't get shit from them on PS3, but fucking Street Fighter.
Well, think about it. It's going to be
and Resident Evil.
It's going to be harder to render, like, you know, Gears of War size Ryu and Ken.
Oh Lord.
But what happens when what happens if like Guardians of the Galaxy tanks? What happens if like Avengers 2 doesn't outgross Avengers? What happens if, you know, the next DC movie like doesn't make as much money as Man of Steel does? Eventually Hollywood's fallen in love with, you know, comics and geekdom before, and they've also fallen out of love with it.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed. Impressed is afterwards. I was really shocked that you guys didn't hesitate. You're like, critical mass. Oh yeah,
they have it. You can't get any bigger. It's it's like the profile is raised, but it's like eventually like all things, either like nature, either shit expands or shit contracts. Stuff doesn't stay the same. Right now they still think this is getting bigger. We can do this. We can like increase your visibility. And I'm like, I think you may be just about as big as you're going to get.
Yeah.
I think movies will be the first one to go as far as like having the being the first signs, because I don't know how much more like after Avengers 2, and I don't even know like. I really wish we were into, like, the Justice League movies. I don't know how to explain it, but I do see, to me, what you guys feel about, that these superhero movies are going to come to an end. Now, we could do little branches of superhero movies, meaning, like, ones that are maybe more dark, you know, like The Punisher in a way, or Supernatural in a way. Like, for example, I shouldn't even say those. How about, like, Sin City? I like Sin City.
Yeah, that was an awesome movie. Almost
I don't know
perfect.
If you guys seen Two Guns with Mark Wahlberg and Denzel?
No, not yet.
That's a graphic novel. That's a comic book, basically.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that movie. And what's so funny, the comic book did a sequel called Three Guns, and there's talks about that coming out too. So,
of course. Big surprise.
That is hilarious, by the way.
That is hilarious. But Scott Pilgrim versus the World, I like that myself.
I liked
it. Was just a fun movie and visually stunning.
Yeah,
that's we know.
I did not appreciate that movie. I did not appreciate that when it first came out, and when I sat down and watched it, I'm like, wow, this is actually really cool.
Yeah.
And we know that's a comic book or graphic novel too. So you know what I mean. There's different comic book movies I think that could kind of survive, that can make some money, but I don't think. I mean, do you guys agree that this blockbuster thing is not going? I mean.
Yeah,
it's not. Are we going to get enough Justice League movies and Wonder Woman movies and you know what I mean? Like,
nah, not by the time. That was what my complaint was about the way that they're going about doing all this. Is that number one, they waited too long to fire. They waited until after Marvel done shot off rounds and rounds and rounds, and then they're like, okay, let's go, and they're already way behind the curve. Then what they released was like an Elseworlds version of Batman. Like, what the fuck? Like, no, we need, like, modern Batman in film or modern Superman. We don't need these Elseworlds stories. We need, like, a version that matches what's in the books. Because if you notice, Marvel, we were talking about this, too. Marvel is the company who they let the movies dictate what their books do. So, like, every time a new movie came out, starting with X-Men, they didn't even do this with Blade. They waited till X-Men, because I guess X-Men was the first bona fide Marvel hit, and like in their eyes,
Blade,
it was real.
Even I have it recording, and it's on. I can tell people where the video is. I have this debate.
Yeah, it's Blade.
For geeks, it was Blade that started the Marvel thing, and.
But Marvel will never admit that.
Yeah.
No. Stan Lee admitted that, as well as the executive producer of Marvel at the time. His name is
Avi Arad.
And they were both on film. Oh, what's that?
Avi Arad.
Yeah. They're on film talking about Blade.
Yep.
And saying how that is the center point. And here's the funny thing. I have it on my computer, and I also have it on my MP3 player as a video. Because I put it in their face. I'm from Missouri. I'm from the Show Me State, so I will show you. You see this guy? This is fucking Stan Lee.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit, you know, so...
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, it's true. Blade was the starting point, and they didn't use Blade as the point where they said, hey, maybe we should pay attention to what these, like, you know, movie makers do with our characters and kind of incorporate that into our books. No, they waited until X-Men. We could even go as far as to say they waited until X-Men 2 to really solidify making the Marvel Universe look like the movie counterpart. And then since then, it's been a wrap. Their books don't sell as well because they've done several renigs back and forth, you know, because they realize that fans of the books aren't necessarily always fans of the films. But they've done enough to tie the two together that they've got a steady stream of income constantly flowing through. And this is before Disney. Now they're part of Disney. It's a fucking wrap. Like there's nothing more to say. They're gonna make their money, and when this thing all goes critical mass, they're gonna be fine. DC, on the other hand, they've been doing everything the wrong way. If they had been smart, they would have taken a lot of the animated films to the big screen. I mean, that would have made all the sense in the world. Bring those movies to the big screen so people get some version of their favorite characters. And then when you make the live action versions, you should mimic some of that shit on screen, like with the live action version. They're not doing it, and I think when, you know, Hollywood finally gets tired of this stuff, they won't have most of their characters out there yet. And if they do, they're going to hurry up and put out shit, and it's just going to be sad for everybody involved.
You know, maybe you both... Oh, did you have something to say, Scott?
I was going to say, but even think about, like, as far as where the climate is now, all respect to the property and the people involved in making the movie, but think about where we are now.
Yeah.
Someone suggested and greenlit a Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Yeah. They didn't even have comics for a long time, like not this team, you know, for a long time.
Yeah, so you want to, like, that, I don't know whether that's, like, kind of like a heat check, whether, like, you just do something just to see if, like, this will get over. I mean, obviously, it could tie into Thanos and, like, you know, bigger plans later on, but I'm like, that's the person, like, that's the group that you want to throw against him, and, like, this person, this villain, like Thanos, who you're trying to build up is going to be, like, this big thorn in the ass of people.
Yeah.
Like, for a while, so you want him to go up against the Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like...
It doesn't make sense. Yeah, it almost doesn't make sense. I think it'll work. I'm surprised that they went there so fast, you know?
Like this Guardians of the Galaxy team.
Yeah.
I actually have some Guardians of the Galaxy books, but it's like when they had like the cosmic version of Captain America. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember that. And the one Phoenix Force member.
Yes, the Phoenix Force girl or something. Yeah, they were... You know, they had kind of like a revolving team. There was even some futuristic, kind of like Punisher guy. I think he's called Charlie 27 or something.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. He was huge. He was like the juggernaut, but he carried all these guns. It was kind of cool. He was just awesome. But I think they could have went with a better team. At first, I really hated the idea, but something clicked recently. I still don't like the team, but I think I understand where they're going. I think it's a smart play for this reason right here. And tell me what you guys think. A lot of superhero movies is coming out. Independent, the studios that even aren't as big are doing superhero movies as well. You know, we get the Kick-Asses and we get all the other, you know, people trying to get some of the superhero movie money, right?
Yeah.
You know, the crumbs, you know, the afterbirth, if you will. I know that sounds bad.
Trying to get that.
Oh, man.
But what Marvel did is like, okay, why don't we go into space? Kind of like Star Wars, where it's literally sci-fi and tech, like aliens. And because think about it, I mean, we had Star Trek and we had Star Wars. We've had, you know, Pacific Rim. We've had, you know, other things like that. And I think it's good to try that. Like, we could do space. You know what I mean? I'm not a fan of the team, but if I really think about, like, I mean, I know we don't like the prequels, but think about the visuals when we saw all the different planets, when they were landing near Palpatine's...
Yeah, I agree.
When Palpatine's, you know, Empire castle ship or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, the visuals are going to be stunning, I think, and the futuristic cantinas and the spaceships, and there's even hints of Nova. I'm a Nova fan.
Yeah, Nova's in there.
Huh?
I think the Nova Corps is in the movie.
Yeah, the Nova Corps is in the movie.
God, I hate them, though. I'm sorry. I hate Nova.
I know, because it reminds you of Green Lantern.
It's
right?
such a ripoff of Green Lantern. It's not right. And I'm not even a big fan of Green Lantern, but, man, that's so...
Core. I'm like, dude...
the Nova Corps? Like, come on.
You can't even, like, come up with, like, another name signified as a group. Like, all right, fine.
I like Nova because his powers. I didn't know he was part of a Corps until later, and it just seems so forced. I mean, dude, his name is Nova. He, has the power of a sun, and then what is his ultimate power? He goes supernova. I just thought that was the coolest thing. It just his name makes sense. And plus, also, I don't know if you guys know this superhero, Burning Punch X is a big fan of his.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Night Thrasher? Night Thrasher?
Night Thrasher.
Yeah.
Love Night Thrasher. The only black character I know, way back in the 80s, that was the leader of his own team.
Yeah, yeah.
And he told Nova what to do. There was a guy named Speedball and Justice and all these other different characters, and he was the leader of it.
Yeah.
And just a great combatant. He was just, basically their version. They're called the New Warriors, and they were the DC version of Teen Titans.
Well, the Marvel version of Teen Titans.
I'm sorry,
Yeah. You're right. That's exactly what they were.
Yeah. That's how I got introduced to Nova. So, through his book. And but as far as Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm not a big fan, but I can see what Marvel's trying to do. It's sort of like if they ever went back to, because they own Blade now and things like that, like if they wanted to go supernatural, you know what I mean?
They have the Midnight Suns. Yeah, they have. See, that's the thing, is they sold their biggest properties early before anybody else was really making these films. So, like, when they finally got the rights and the okay and the money to actually have a studio, they're like, shit, we don't have our big guns. So what they did was they stuck with the shit they did have. That's why they made, like what I was telling the Running Man in my video beforehand, Iron Man was like a C-list superhero. I'm sorry, he was for a long time. And they finally were like, shit, that's one of the guys we got left because he's an Avenger. Let's make him cool. Let's try to put him to the forefront. And after that movie, he was leading S.H.I.E.L.D., he had a new book where in the book he looked like Tom Cruise and shit. There was all kinds of stuff going on with Iron Man. And beforehand, he wasn't really that like popular. I mean, he was popular to comic book readers, but he wasn't popular. He wasn't a household name. He wasn't even close to a household name. Like I had told you, the older son, my stepson, went as Iron Man for Halloween a year or two before the movie, and people thought he was the fucking Gold Ranger. And I was like, for real? Like, really? But then when the movie came out, every kid was going for Halloween as fucking, Iron Man. And, the costumes in the store. Everybody knew. And they had, like, the classic version, the movie version, ultimate version, and everybody knew who he was now. And it's all strategic timing and marketing and figuring out this is what you got. Work with this shit and try to make it as interesting as possible. And that's why all those movies worked so well. And that's still why I think DC needs to figure out a different strategy because they're fucking up.
Right. What I was saying about Marvel. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say real quickly, I think that's one thing Marvel is doing. That's why I said I can see where they were going. Like, really think about this, too. Like, we have Blade and the Punisher for, really gritty. They could make those fully rated R if they wanted to.
They should.
They not be super blockbusters, but they can make money, period, to a certain genre. Then they're trying space. You see what I mean? Sci-fi. Then we've got, Captain America and the Avengers, those type of heroes, you know what I mean? Which, of course, has the well, it looks like this new Captain America has no comedy at all, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it looks real serious.
Yeah. But you see what I mean? And then you got Thor for the mystical kind of like sword and sandals, you know what I mean? So it looks like they're hitting all of these genres, which I think is extremely smart. As far as like getting different, baskets and different revenue streams versus just superhero movie.
Yeah, or the same type of superhero movie. Yeah, you're right. And
yeah, I definitely see that. I can see that.
So that's why I can respect them. At least, like I said, it just clicked in my brain about Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm not a fan yet, but I am curious to see it. When I see that first trailer, then I'll kind of decide like,
I saw You haven't seen the Comic-Con footage? It actually looks pretty damn good. I was like, wow.
I haven't seen it.
It was crazy. Like, somebody made fun of the fact that they call themselves the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're like, what kind of asshole came up with that name? Like, it's quality. I was like, wow, really?
Have you seen it, Scott?
No, not yet.
Yeah, I stumbled on it on YouTube. I was trying to look for the there was footage. Watson, one of my homeboy that does Hot Shot, he pointed out that there was this footage they showed at Comic-Con. I think it was at San Diego Comic-Con, of Cap, the fight scene in the elevator where it's like all these guys just keep getting on the elevator and then they all attack him and he just handles them. He was explaining to me what happened, and you know, we were trying to find it and we couldn't find it. So that night when he left, I was like, let me look for it. Let me keep looking. So I kept looking on YouTube, and then I came across someone saying, you know, this is the actual footage, and I saw it, and they show a little bit of everything, show Rocket Rack. They don't really show a lot of the characters talking. It's more of the other characters, the supporting cast reacting to them. So okay. You see Rocket Raccoon, and you see him going fucking ape shit, just firing off this massive rifle with all this ammunition. And he just looks like he's batshit insane. Like, I can't wait to see how they pull that off. You see Batista looking like a green version of the brass character he played in The Man with the Iron Fist. Okay. You see, you don't actually see Chris,
Pratt?
Yeah, Chris Pratt. You don't see his face ever. They just show him in the Star-Lord suit with the gas mask kind of thing going on, and they show him shooting and stuff. It's a lot of these sweeping shots. You see Groot slap something and something goes flying, and you know, then there's like it's like just real quick, and then you know, the title. So I think it was like one of those what do they call those things, not heat wave, a sizzle reel. There you go. It was like a sizzle reel, so you could see, you know, kind of, this is the world, this is what the characters look like. You know, they showed Glenn Close as Nova Prime. I mean, it looked cool. I was like, shit. Yeah, Glenn Close is in the movie. Fucking John C. Reilly is playing, he's a Nova corpsman also. I can't remember. He's the guy who I think dies and gives a shit to the, you know, Nova, the one we know. What's his name?
No, that's freaking Silver.
That's Silver Surfer, yeah.
Richard Rider.
Richard Rider, yeah. He gives him his gear just like Green Lantern.
Here, it has chosen you.
I know, right?
Really?
Because of reason.
Exactly. But it looked good. You know, like I had said in other videos too, I'm a fan of. I'm more of a DC fan. Like, if I had a meter, it swings more to the DC section. But I've been reading both my entire life. I actually started out reading Marvel first. So, like, I don't really have, like, a 100%, like, this is my loyalty. It's just the DC. Some of the DC characters speak to me more. The Marvel guys are more fun in like, a quick, like, right now, flavor of the month, Marvel guys are always more fun. Because they always capitalize off of, like, trends right now. Whatever's cool right now. That's what they're trying to do with Marvel. Like, Spider-Man has benefited so much from being a modern... They keep modernizing him. It's just that in the new films, they did too much. Whereas, like, the cartoons kind of got his personality right, even though they're making him too young.
You just want to talk about that then, the new Spider-Man, since we're on movies?
Yeah, may as well. Shit, I don't care. I like what it looks like. I just don't know if... I don't know. I don't dig the Rhino. I think that big cybernetic monstrosity or robotic monstrosity is just dumb. And there's so many better designs, and they chose that. I get what they're doing. It's still more of that, let's try to ground this aspect in reality. Like, you don't have to do that. It's a movie called The Amazing Spider-Man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you
must be accurate.
You just don't have to do that shit. But I like what I've seen. Actually, you know what? I have to throw this in there since we're talking about The Amazing Spider-Man. So the other day, I was at Target and I saw the new figures, and I picked up two of them, Spider-Man and Electro. And so the Spider-Man figure's awesome. The Electro figure's pretty nice, but they refuse to make it look like Jamie Foxx. I'm like, what the fuck is that about? And I'll show you guys eventually when I do the review. It's like,
black guy.
Yeah, they changed Electro to be Jamie Foxx, this obviously black actor, and then the figure has a white face. I'm like, whoa, like what happened? Like, I mean, he's still blue and stuff, but like his features are so like they're just not Jamie Foxx. No, the lips, the nose. I mean, you know, dude's got some big old juby ass lips. Like you can't hide that shit. They didn't even try.
We call that the Panthro complex.
What the fuck is a samouflange? Get your foot off.
They just had a friggin' face, like, you know, laying around. So, you know, they just went with that.
It's bad.
We were actually supposed to, like, scan Jamie Foxx. He couldn't make it that day.
I mean, and I know sometimes, like, when it's a really big name, they don't get the rights to put their face on a figure. But, like, Jamie Foxx wouldn't give the rights for them to get his likeness on the figure.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see that happening. So that struck me as really weird because there's two heads. It comes with two heads, like Japanese figures, you know, removable hands, removable heads. And I'm like, wow, neither of these heads. I thought one would be like the comic accurate face and one would be, you know, the movie accurate one. No, not at all. I'm like, shit, something's kind of fishy with that. I don't know why they did that. That's not cool. But
what you, Scott, how do you feel about the new Spider-Man?
I don't know, as far as it's kind of like villain, like overkill in a way. Like, there's a lot of people I know, there were 6 doors at the end. You know what that means? They have 6 really big bathrooms. What? I don't know. But no, so I don't know whether they're just going to feature some of them or whether they're all going to be out there. Somebody said, I think like Rhino might not even be that much of a factor. Like, he may be done in the first 20 minutes.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Like, yeah. And I'm like, maybe, and then we'll just move on to some of the other guys. Electro will be like more of a consistent, of a persistent thorn in the butt.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't the first, because I'm just like, the first movie was just so not what I was expecting.
Yeah, same here. It was underwhelming as fuck. I was just like, was this really necessary? There was nothing really that different that they needed to, except for that freeze frame at the end. There's like a freeze frame, the very last frame of the movie, is he jumps in front of the moon. It's like that J. Scott Campbell cover when he was doing the covers to Straczynski's Spider-Man story. And that was nice, but I'm like, wow, you built a whole movie around this one frame? Like, no. Like, the whole movie just, I don't know. It didn't. We don't need another origin for Spider-Man. And
because this one's amazing.
I know. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah. Exactly. This is not Toby. This is clearly not Toby.
Wow. Hey, Scott. Personal foul. Scott hitting below the belt.
I know, right?
Hey. I was fine with Toby until, like, you know,
the air grindage.
Yeah, exactly. Until like that whole thing, I'm like, to show that he's evil. Well, then show that he's really evil. Show him robbing places. Don't. Yeah. What the hell is that? That just shows that he's annoying.
Yeah, exactly. He was annoying everyone, even the extras in the movie.
Doing gas hands.
Double dream hands.
So I don't. But yeah, I watched. But from that, obviously, like that first trilogy, wound up leaving a bad taste in my mouth. It was entertaining up until then. Wasn't loving it. Yeah. But it was entertaining up until that last movie, and then friggin' Amazing came out, and I'm like, I don't know what I was expecting, but this wasn't it.
Yeah.
Absolutely wasn't it, and friggin' the whole
that awesome, huh?
Yeah. Now, like I said, I've watched a couple of trailers for 2, and I'm like, okay, they understand that, you know, conflict in a superhero movie is good, so they're giving you lots of that.
Yep.
So that's a plus. It's the only one so far.
Well, the costume looks awesome. I just think it's funny that they reneged like 1,000% on the new design, and they just said, fuck it, we're gonna exactly use the Tobey Maguire kind of suit with just a tiny little different spider on it. I like that they're, you know, he's not all buff. He's this skinny, scrawny-ass guy, because that's what Spider-Man's supposed to be. It always bothered me when he was, like, drawn as this super buff, like, huge dude. And I'm like, you got super strength. Your muscles don't even have to work anymore. From the point that you got super strength to now, you could look exactly the same, because you're not, like, it's not like you're working out like the rest of us would have to do, you know? And I know that was me being extra nerdy, but whatever. It's just it's simple, and it also gives you a difference in you know, the frames of your characters. You know, it's another visual difference between him and like Captain America or anybody else. I like the fact that it seems like in this one they're focusing more on him stopping, you know, issues and crimes and shit in the city. That's what it looks like, at least from the trailer. He's busy, unless that's all from one scene. Because, you know, a lot of trailers do that. They show you the best shit these days. They show you the best stuff to get you into the theater. And then when you get in, you've already seen what you wanted to see. Yeah. So
at least they stopped doing the stuff, well, as much as, like, where they would show you a scene and just flat out isn't even in the movie.
Oh, God. Yeah.
It's like, I'm like, wait a minute. There was a car chase and it flipped over. Like, why did that not happen? Like, oh, yeah, we just pulled that out.
That's all right. Yeah.
Some stuff we had, figured out not to use it in the final cut. Thanks. Don't show it in the commercial either then.
I know. Assholes.
Just put it in the DVD. Just
exactly. Oh my God. That's another thing I wish they'd stop doing. Because like G.I. Joe Retaliation was like that. And I had to review both because there was two different cuts. And you could tell when you're watching the theatrical version that shit was missing that probably should have been in there that would have explained some things. And then when you see the Blu-ray version has all the extra stuff, I'm just like, wow, that's really underhanded for you to withhold information and say, okay, if you pay the $20 extra, you could get the Blu-ray and you can see what we were supposed to put in the theatrical release.
I just meant, you know, just kind of like extra deleted scenes, not actual, you know, super serious. I mean, stuff to explain, of course, definitely should be in there, but just like, I love alternate endings, even if they're good or bad. I just want to see, like, okay, how did this really, like, what was the thinking? You know, stuff like that I think is kind of cool.
That is cool. But what they did in Retaliation is, like, there are fight scenes that are completely, they're shot from different angles, and there's parts of the fight, like, the editing in the theatrical version had strange, like, cutaways where, like, something would be about to happen, and then all of a sudden it would just cut to something altogether different, and you're like, wait up, that looked like something was about to happen. And the kicker is that in the trailer, you saw the full transition from whatever happened to what they cut out. You know what I mean? Like, there's a fight between Jinx and Snake Eyes, and, you know, Ray Park always crosses the stream, or butterfly twist, that's what they call it, that completely vertical twist move. He does it all the time. It's like one of his trademark things, and he was doing it kind of at a time when other people weren't really on that yet, not in the US. And there's a whole sequence where she's stabbing at him. He's not using a sword, she's using two swords, and he's dodging and he's, you know, flipping out of the way, doing kicks to kick her hand out the way to parry the attacks. And then there's a whole series of these elaborate parries and like joint manipulations, followed by her trying to cut at his legs and him countering by crossing the stream, you know, and then landing in his little trademark Darth Maul type pose. And as I'm watching it in the theater, I didn't watch that one in the theater, I don't think. But as we saw it the first time, there is that whole portion of the fight is gone. It cuts to something else entirely. Even the transition to how the scene starts was completely different. And then when you watch this new version, the Blu-ray version, I mean, there's like a whole new introduction. The RZA gets to talk more, which they shouldn't have done, but, you know, whatever. There's like but he kept calling them the Arashi Kagi. I'm like, oh.
Technique.
At least he wasn't like me, you know, when Virtual Fighter came out.
Oh, Cage.
Hey, who's this guy Cage?
Cage is awesome. Like, it's Kage, homie. It's Kage. And they did that. He was calling his clan that he is one of the masters of. He was completely butchering their name. I'm like, you trained in Japan for like the better part of your life. And like your adult life to your old age, and you're calling them the Arashi Kagi? Like, really? Like, come on, dude. They could have even voiced it.
Rash on my Kagi.
It's like a rash Kagi.
It was just bad, man. It was really bad. I'm like, man, you guys should have. I don't know, but you know, that kind of stuff I don't like. There were other movies that did that too. Like one of the Transporter movies had parts of fight scenes that they dropped. And they say it was for time. But when you see how they re-edited the fight scene, it's like something was about to happen and then it cuts to a whole different reaction and you're just like, what? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't flow. So, and I know when they do the alternate take, that's cool because it's a whole different thing. Like in The Matrix Revisited. Did you guys see that?
Of course.
I was about to say you better have.
Come on.
Scott, did you see it?
Of course not.
Come on. You better have seen it. For real. You didn't see it?
Matrix Revisited? No.
Oh my God. There's these, I'll show that to you the next time you come by. There's these blocking tapes where they show you the professional martial artists acting out the fight scenes that ended up in the film. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that were like really cool touches that should have been in the movie that because of the limitations of the actors, you didn't get those things. So like to see what it was going to be and how they had to tweak it, that's kind of nice because you understand that you're not, the actors weren't martial artists. So there was some kind of demands on them that they wouldn't necessarily be met because of they're limited to some degree, You can't get to master status in less than a year and then turn around and make it look beautiful on film, with the cameraman saying, do the same move that you can do really well with your right foot, do it with your left foot in front of the camera, standing over here. It's like, yeah, no, it's going to be difficult. So I give them props for what they pulled off. It's just, when you see these martial artists do it, you're like, holy shit, this would have been amazing if Brandon Lee actually did get to play Neo. Or like, if Michelle Yeoh actually did play Trinity. Like, they could pull off those moves the right way,
Yeah, because I remember seeing it. I want to say my little theory about the Amazing Spider-Man real quick. I want to go way back there.
Yeah, go. Sorry. This is how we do, man. You know us.
Now, here's my crazy theory. Okay, so I think, because you were talking about the Rhino is going to be kind of dispatched pretty early or something like that, or he may not be major. I still think, believe it or not, it might be a lot longer than we think. Here's my theory. Electro is first, and he gets dispatched as the main villain first. And at the end of the movie, we have this second fight with Rhino, because remember there's the Goblin flying on his little hover thing?
Oh, in the background, yeah.
Yes, technology, and it seems to be animal-oriented, you know what I mean? And at the end, when he destroys Rhino, then, because he doesn't know, who the Green Goblin is, he goes back to his lab, and then that's where we see the mechanical wings and the tentacles and that sort of thing, because it kind of fits, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
You got Kraven the Hunter, you know what I mean? The lion thing, so it fits with that whole robotic theme that maybe at the end...
Oh, it's going to be 6 animals as opposed to... Yeah. Maybe. Maybe. You never know. You could be right, because it looks weird, though. I'll give him that. It does look... The vibe is just really strange.
I don't like the look of Jamie Foxx. I mean, I guess they went with, what, Ultimate Electro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It looks better than the classic one. I'll give him that. It's just...
Oh, dude.
The Luchador?
Yeah, exactly. He looks way better than that. But I just think they're not being creative enough when it comes to some of these designs.
Oh, when he wears the hoodie in the movie, it's going to say Trayvon on the back.
Oh, God. Please. They better not. They better fucking not.
I really hope not.
That would be so wrong.
He's going to have the hoodie, because remember, you guys seen the pictures where he has the hoodie. He's going to be walking through a white, suburban neighborhood, and you're like, I saw this guy. And then there's going to be a guy calling, yes, I'm following this dude. And
he's going to follow by Big Mexican.
I saw this dude, and he's wearing the hoodie, and he looks suspicious. And
they better leave that shit. We better not see that shit show up in a movie for...
Then he's going to shock the dude and leave.
Oh, man.
Don't worry. The next thing Uwe Boll does, he'll pay homage to that.
Oh, God, that dude.
Seems like it's about his speed.
Yeah, I know, right?
Who does?
Uwe Boll. He's the guy who did...
Yes, I know him.
You know who I'm talking about?
He recently did a movie I actually liked. It was so good I showed the wife, and she liked it too.
What? What was it called?
Assault on Wall Street.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
It is actually pretty well done. It plays...
That sounds like something he'd do.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
I'm still waiting for him to do Contra. Like, if he does Contra, I'll be really happy.
So the start of it is Dominic, what's his last name? But he played Drake in Blade 3.
Oh, Purcell?
Yeah, Dominic Purcell. He's the main. He's the main star. He drives a security truck that picks up the bank deposits. You know, sort of thing. I forgot what that's called. You know,
it's like an armored truck. An armored truck.
Armored trucks. Yes.
Yeah.
And get this, his partner is the kid from Terminator 2.
Oh,
Furlong?
Furlong, Edward Furlong.
Right.
That's funny.
And then they have two cop friends, which is Keith David.
Ha! Goliath.
Keith David's partner is Michael Pare. You guys know him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So those, believe it or not, are the 4 stars. And basically, Dominic Perel's character, you know, he's just struggling. He's a 9-to-5 guy. It's in New York or whatever. And it's just about the collapse when because he had investments, but his wife is like really sick and terminal almost, and he just has to keep paying, and you know he's using all his credit cards, and you know he's trying to get an extra job and things like that. Like, you feel the shit. I'm like, damn, Uwe Boll is like really, you know, I don't think he wrote it. He just directed because it was just way too good.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, you know, Shakespeare, a masterpiece, but, you know, like I said, I showed the wife, and she was even getting into it because, you know, you see this guy, you know, you see the bills piled up, you see him trying to, you know, work and things like that, and then he had some investments, and sure enough, you know, these Wall Street dicks took everything.
Damn.
You know? I don't want to give anything away because I do actually recommend it as just a movie to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I actually give it like a 7. Because I can relate to some of that.
Yeah.
And you find out later, I'll just give this away, that he's ex-military. And then you guys can kind of take it from there.
Oh, wow. Ex-military, Scott.
That's
the best. That's the best, like, one.
You know, and he's like, where's my broker at? Where? Okay. And then he starts doing surveillance. I mean, you like start rooting for the guy. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah, like get him.
that one term enables you to do
anything.
So many things.
Everything.
But, I mean, and then just look at the cast I just named. You know,
Yeah.
I said I had to see it. You know, I don't think Dominic Farrell's a bad actor. He was fine, but he's really good in this. And then Keith David is golden. I just love him.
Yeah.
So he had some decent people there. And, there's a good ending. You know, I think, you know, it's worth at least a rental. I saw it on Netflix, so there you go.
That makes
sense. I
sense.
saw it on Wall Street.
You ready for this, player?
Oh, man.
And there's no, believe it or not, there's no comedy at all. No comedy at all. Straight drama, and then it turns into action at the end. You know, it's like, I was like, damn, this is relatable, extremely relatable.
Wow.
The other thing about, I will say this, as far as Boll's work ethic, I guess, is concerned, the man does complete a shoot quickly.
Yeah, that's what he said. Everything is under budget and on time. So
exactly. So
you know,
that's what keeps him working.
Yeah, and that's what you go to school to learn. All these fucks that are spending billions and billions and billions. Not to say that, you know, Boll is like the most awesome director or anything. No, he does some cheesy shit. Like, I was so angry when he did House of the Dead, because I like House of the Dead, the games. I was like, how do you screw that up? It's so funny. Like, the games themselves aren't good. They're not the best games. They're just fun when you got a bunch of people. You can laugh at the bad dialogue. But, like, it's a fun experience, especially the Zombie Revenge for the Dreamcast. If once you figure out how to play that game and you got a couple people with you, the game is fucking awesome. But he fucked up House of the Dead. I'm like, dude, it wrote itself, and on top of it, it's a game. All you had to do was just follow the game. I mean, it was just horrible, and I had high hopes because at the time I wasn't happy with the first Resident Evil movie. I was like, this shit is really dumb, even though that's probably the best one in the series. But
yeah, those things got more and more ridiculous.
And
as they went on.
And my guilty pleasure is still the second one, but God, yeah, Resident Evil kind of
But a guilty pleasure that everybody hates and I actually love.
What?
AVP, Alien versus Predator.
Really?
Yes, because I don't know if you guys are a fan of Dark Horse Comics.
Yeah.
It actually follows the comic books in a way.
Yeah, it does in a way. Some of the events. Yeah, I have the original, that original comic that they mimicked, I guess.
They tried to play homage to it a little bit, like when Sanaa Lathan and them team up. That was the Japanese girl and the Predator, and I was like, oh, that was golden for me. But like I said, I'm a geek. It was close enough. I mean, even the Aliens versus Predator game that Capcom made, that's that same chick. I mean,
yeah, Kurosawa, I think her last name is, right?
Yeah,
something Kurosawa. I can't remember, but yeah,
I dug that movie more than the second one. I don't know. I enjoyed the first one. Requiem was just.
Oh, I don't like Requiem.
It was. I mean, for one thing, honestly, my big issue was that it was too dark.
Yeah.
Not mood wise.
Just you couldn't see shit. Yeah, you couldn't see anything.
Lack of light. I couldn't see a damn thing. I'm like. It's like I can't see the aliens, can't see the Predator, even when because okay, the city gets hit with a power outage, and that's your start off, so you can't really get a good look at anything or anybody.
Yep, and I think that was the point too, was to hide the lack of budget, because that team, those brothers that made that film, I think they're the same people that made they make Skyline, I think it was.
Yes.
And
yes. I was in a room with them at Comic-Con when they were announcing that. I was in a room with like another 500 people. We were standing up towards the back, me and the wife, you know. She's a part-time geek, you know, I drag her to there.
Part-time geek.
We were in the room when they showed footage of that, and then how they trashed AVP. And, you know, a few people were actually upset. I was like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one that thinks that movie is okay. Like, I still like that movie as an action movie. I know it's not the most cohesive, but I did have fun watching
it had some cool scenes. Yeah, when I first saw it, I was like, man, this is kind of cool. The second time I saw it, I was like, damn, really? You killed off how many Predators in the first, the first fight they have, you lost, the majority of the Predators, and I'm like, these guys are supposed to be the shit, and they looked so badass.
They looked so bad.
That's what kind of surprised me too. I'm like, these guys are getting taken out.
I mean, you had the one with the two ridiculously long claw things, those blades that popped up off of his forearms. I was like, where did this come from, man? And I don't know, but yeah, it's fun to watch.
Messed up on Predators, don't you guys think they messed up on?
Predators. Yeah, Predators was kind of like, it was like parts of it seemed like it was going somewhere, and then you realize they're just rehashing stuff that already happened in the previous movies, you know? Mm-hmm. Which kind of pissed me off, like having Adrian Brody, he didn't say get to the chopper, he said, I'm here. Kill me. I'm here. I'm like, you're not Arnold, dude. Come on.
You're the piano man. You're sorry, you're the man from the piano.
The piano man.
He was looking for Holly Berry to kiss. That's what he was doing.
I know, right? God, I don't know. Predator is one of those things where the first two movies were good, in my opinion, and the rest they pale in comparison for me. I know a lot of people don't like Predator 2. I loved it. I don't care. I loved it.
Predator 2, in the grand scheme of things, it's like one of those things I kind of, turned around on,
Yeah.
Especially when you, to me, look at, the lineage of it when you get it into the Predators and things like that. Honestly, I think don't you guys think it's due for another attempt?
Yeah.
At least a Predator movie. That's what I'm saying. I would rather, because think about it, we love their technology, and just like you said, those other two aliens. Now, what I found on the DVD, I think one of the directors was saying on AVP, not Requiem, but he was saying the other two were like junior hunters, like this was like some kind of trial or something.
Yeah, because that's the way they do. It's like the young ones, they send them off, and that's the fucked up part about the story, is that in the previous movies, you always got a younger Predator, because he didn't always have a ton of trophies. I think maybe the one in part 2, he had a trophy room on his ship, but the one in the first one didn't. He just came and that was it. His trophies were all brand new. It was all people he killed since he got to the jungle.
Exactly.
So when they point that out in AVP, I was like, but they're still ridiculously badass, and you're trying to tell me that they can't essentially kill the dogs of their own world. That's the way they set it up. They were saying the xenomorphs were their dogs. So I'm like, come on, guys. That's kind of weak sauce in my opinion, but That's just my opinion.
Well, do you guys think it's due for another attempt at, looking at their technology, their ship? I mean, wouldn't it be awesome to see like a master level predator or a chief clan, or maybe there's warring clans or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
Humans.
I want to see a Predator movie that takes place on their home world. That's what I want to see. That's what I've been waiting for, because I still don't know, like, what are they? Where are they from? What are they called? Like, we're calling them predators, but we got predators on our own planet. Like, who and what are they? Like, I want to know what their society is like and where they come from, and I want to see a story take place on their own planet. I've read comics, but the comics still stay vague with, like, who they are and what their planet is called, and, their language isn't ever in English. It's always in that weird hieroglyphic looking shit. And
we know that they're crocodilian like, or right?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I like them though. They're cool looking characters. I'll give them that.
And think about this too. Their technology. Wouldn't that be awesome and exciting? Because they have ships.
Yeah.
And it's like they almost choose not to wear armor, but I'm pretty sure they could, if they can amass these ships that go, throughout the cosmos. I'm sure they could wear, a lot of armor. But it's like they're kind of primal and technology at the same time, which is a fascinating thing with me.
I agree.
Definitely.
I agree. I'd like to check it out.
It's like, I'm so badass, I just need this, spear, this freaking cannon on my shoulder, and then my chest is wide open.
Yeah.
Like, but I can turn invisible. I mean, think about that. It's like, there's so much you could do there,
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys feel about this. I don't even have a problem with the Predators teaming up with the humans, like in the Aliens versus Capcom, side-scroller game. You guys play that, right?
Yeah, that was badass. It was really cool.
I actually don't have a problem with that if there's some common, like, it's an uneasy alliance. I don't mean that it's, hunky-dory, but there's just this really uneasy, alliance, or, that there's a bigger threat. I don't even mind seeing that, because that could be badass if you had some, group of, like, 3 humans and, like, 3 predators or 2 predators, and they're, like, all back-to-back, or doing, these crazy... fights, physical fights as well as shootouts.
Yeah, it would be badass. I think that's what I was looking forward to the most in AVP. And then when I realized who the characters were, I was like, oh, come on, that's where we don't get it. But, we don't get it to the level that it was in the game and the comic, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't very exaggerated, at least not her stuff. The Predator stuff was, but not the girl. I'd definitely check that out. You got some skilled humans fighting alongside some really skilled predators. That'd be some dope shit. I don't see them doing it. I mean, maybe they will if RoboCop does good. Because for some reason...
Yeah, I was going to try to transition to that, too.
Go ahead, take it, Scott.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, because television's on over here, so I just seen the commercial, and I'm like, I was... a little less than enthusiastic when I just heard that they were going to do like RoboCop again. I mean, again, I just remembered there were elements of because that movie came out when I had to be about 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have seen it in theaters, but oops.
I didn't see it till it came on TV.
I was with a parent, so they let me in. But there were parts of that movie and like that, and the entire world that movie had built that I didn't really appreciate until I watched it later on. It's like there was a lot of satire in there that, again, when you're 10, you don't pick up on.
Yeah.
It's like even the fact that there's a whole like old Detroit where people still live, which surprisingly looks like Detroit if you've ever been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I mean, no disrespect, but hell, the Watts riots were what, in the 60s? They still haven't rebuilt some stuff over there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So when you see them have that take on the crime situation there, and like this is how we decide that we're gonna fix it, and it plays out in like a really interesting way. I mean, like Peter Weller was obviously awesome. He spun that into like an entire career still.
Yeah.
So when I see this new movie and I'm like, okay, they have Sam Jackson, and like I'm already leery because Sam Jackson's like that guy that you get that I'm supposed to want to go see.
Yeah, but the movie will still be shit.
yeah, but he at this point he still just wants to get paid, so it's possible the movie's gonna be shit. So
Michael Keaton is in there. Michael Keaton is playing the big bad, essentially. He's the guy in charge of OCP.
That could still work, but it's like, I just want to know if it'll be as like, if that attitude toward, like, you know, the situation will still be there, or if it's just going to be the strictly, like, you know, like playing this straight, like literally, like this city in America has fallen to look like, I don't know, friggin' Beirut. or like or Fallujah or Baghdad, like circa like 5 years ago. Now we just send in this giant robot sentry.
Yeah, they're trying to
clear it all up. I'm like, now again, you can play that for like for laughs, or like I said, for like, you know, satire. But I'm like, you're gonna play it straight, you're walking a fine line.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna wait until to see when it comes out, because from what I've seen, I went from being unimpressed to being like kind of like, oh, this actually looks like it could be okay, but I still think it will feel more like a those movies they used to play on like Saturday afternoon. You know what I mean? Like, it's just another one of those movies, like Cyborg Cop or something like that. Like, in the future, it'll be one of those attempts that people are just going to, you watch it for fun and that's it. It doesn't have a lasting effect. Whereas like RoboCop, today, everything they were talking about, all the commercialism, the freaking satire, everything is still relevant, because like
exactly
that's how our society's gone.
Exactly, they didn't take themselves too seriously, you know, in that movie, you know, and that's one reason why I think it has such a cult following and it's so beloved, is that it didn't take itself seriously, but then it was also trying to say these little messages about, you know, materialism and commercialism, and you know what I mean? I'll buy that for $1. And, you know, all of these things that are just really layered. But I'm with you, Strydent. It's like I was unimpressed, but now I'm like in the okay camp, and I think the movie might be actually pretty decent. And one thing that seems promising as far as just like what they're trying to do is like, they're paying an homage to the original, because it seems from the trailer that he starts off with that black tactical looking RoboCop, but then he goes back to the silver, which I kind of like.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some connection there, and I kind of like that. Like, you know, maybe they're gonna do that, but I have a better feeling for this than the Total Recall remake, which I didn't see, but I knew for a fact I had zero interest in seeing that, and I still do.
Yeah, it's not like, it's weird because in some ways supposedly it followed the book, and the book didn't take place on Mars. Everything was in Earth, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw the movie. I liked it. It just wasn't. It doesn't hold a card to the Arnold one. Like, the Arnold one was just classic, and so much of the shit worked because it was so out there. This version, it seems more like a typical sci-fi, like a modern sci-fi thriller with all this like way overly thought out conceptual design for the world, and like, you know, you only interact with like a third of the shit you see in the movie, but they spent so much time on the sets and the. You know, like there was a city that was built up from the ground and then down from the sky. So like at some point in the city, there's like a trunk, I guess, that connects the sky to the ground, like the upper tier of the city to the lower tier. But you have pretty much stalactites and stalagmites, and I'm like, wow, like the buildings were literally built down from the ceiling, and I'm like, that's some dope shit, but like never do you ever, they don't interact with it. Like it's just there and you're like, oh wow, like that's cool, but can we get a action sequence through one of those buildings that's pointing down?
So a missed opportunity, huh?
Yeah, a lot of it. There was a lot of cool design and just a lot of like, you know, misuse, or like you said, missed opportunities with the stuff that was in it. But overall though, the story was serviceable. It wasn't bad. And the action was really good. Freaking Colin Farrell, he should do more action. He's good. He's like believable. He didn't look like I won't even say Keanu Reeves, because Keanu Reeves, when his neck isn't all busted, he's actually pretty physical and he doesn't look bad. But freaking he looked like he was a trained killer, and it looked believable. It looked way better than the shit he was doing in Daredevil and SWAT and stuff like that. I mean, he just looked really clean and professional, you know? I mean, he wasn't Scott Adkins level, but he was still good, you know? But, yeah, the movie itself was just like, eh.
Did you see it, Scott?
Yeah, I I've seen most of it. Like I think no, because I missed like a chunk in the middle. Look, I already like they blew the one. I'm not a haven't read the book, but I'm like I remember the whole big hook before was like, you know, in the book and in the Schwarzenegger movie was like, what part of this is real? I'm like, well, you already blew that out of the water in like the first 5 minutes. I'm like, like that was the whole hook. Like, was he still dreaming at this point, or is this reality?
They should have never even mentioned it, and then it would have really had an effect.
Yeah, it's like, no, I said, oh, I'm just gonna go to the recall place and sit down and get some memories from Harold.
Wow.
Like, and then Harold got lit up, and then, like, you know, suddenly this guy turns into, like...
From Harold.
Like, suddenly this dude turns into, like, SEAL Team 6 member, like, and freaking wipes some dudes out. Like, okay, fine, it was good. I don't regret watching it at all. Like, it was good. Like, but it was, like, again, just like elements like that, I just wish they had kind of played up a little more. Instead of just kind of leaving some stuff off to, like, you know, to not really focus on.
Okay, maybe I should rent it, because that trailer did nothing for, like, the multiple trailers. And the people that I did, you know that went to see it, you know, they were just saying it was okay, or they actually didn't like it. They were just like, maybe they missed the Mars and, you know what I mean, all the other stuff. And they were just like, eh.
It
and
felt...
Some people had a problem with, and I actually have a little bit of a crush on her. I don't think she's stunning, but I do have a little crush on her.
Who, Jessica Biel? Yeah, she's fine. Yeah, I think she's fine.
I was going to say that helped.
She's fit, dude. Like,
yeah, she's fine. They need to put her in better films.
Yes.
They don't use her for the right films. But no, I mean the movie wasn't bad. It definitely was like, if you're just looking for an action movie with a sci-fi feel to it, it feels different enough that they could have named it something else, and you would have been like, hey, that scene reminds me of Total Recall, and that's it. Everything else is so different that they really could have called it something else altogether, and you'd have been like, wow, this is a good movie. I think that was the problem, is the fact that they tried to bring in all the fans of the old movie by using the name, because everything else, it worked on its own merits. It could have been its own thing. But that's how they do things these days, so, you know.
So what titles would you guys like to see, like something, you know, from the, even movie or comic book or even toy line or something that you would want to see live action?
I'm sick of having my childhood memories destroyed by people that don't give a damn.
Yeah, I know, right?
But the hook is, again, like, obviously, you know, we watched all that stuff again when we were children. That was the point.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, being older now, you know, we've come to understand that is exactly why those things existed, only to get us to buy the toys.
Exactly.
The impact that it had on us as a kid, again, like the friggin' mass depressions that started in 1986 when kids watched, like, Optimus Prime get murdered.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't just die. Like, it was a long process.
We saw the whole thing down to the death rattle. It was done.
And freaking, like, you know, turning gray at the end. It's like, we never seen, like, Transformers, like, do anything get knocked out before.
Actually,
like,
there was a lot of Transformers death in that movie, actually.
Yeah, dude, everyone on that ship got, like, annihilated.
They got gatted. Like, people were just getting clapped left, right, and center, and it wasn't even right.
You know who actually survived that?
Who?
Jazz.
Oh, because, yeah, he wasn't even in the movie for, like, but 5 seconds or 5 minutes.
Yeah, because you saw him transform at the end. It was Jazz, I think, whatever it was, thing at the time was still Bumblebee, and there was, like, one other one that was, like, still an original that was left. I'm like,
yeah.
What?
But so many died. You know, Prowl died, Sunstreaker, Sideswipe,
yeah,
Police, Red Alert.
Brawn.
Gone.
Like, yeah. Brawn got murked in the shoulder. I'm like,
Ironhide.
so what killed me is that I'm like looking at the at Braun's reaction. I'm like, the hell did he do? Throw his gun in the back of the ship?
Yeah, no, like, oh shit, we need the bazooka.
Was he going to spear, like, you know, Skywarp? What was happening? Like, oh crap, they're here.
Let me go sound the alarm. Yeah, yeah, that movie.
The alarm in the back of the ship.
But I think, I don't know. I wanna crack at Cops. We were talking about that a while back. I wanna redo Cops, take so much of what worked, because design-wise, a lot of it worked. I just want to make the city a little bit more futuristic, make it set further in the future instead of, you know, like, just, what was it? It was like 20 years in the future or something from G.I. Joe. I want it to be like 100 years in the future or something, so that shit will be like really advanced. I want the tone to be like old RoboCop's tone, where people get shot and chunks of meat are flying off of them and shit. Like, I want that. I don't want this, like, it's got to be kid friendly because toys were attached to it. Okay, those days are done. So the toys lasted for like what, 2 or 3 years. The line lasted for 2 years or so, and then it was done. So now we're gonna pretend there were no toys. We're just gonna remember that there was a comic book, there was a cartoon, and we're gonna loosely base this off of them. And then just, you know, and I don't mean in the way that they do now. I mean, like, you know, you have your criminals that are creating a crime wave that's ridiculous, the likes of which they've never seen before, the city has never seen, and then you have your, you know, your federal agent called in to help them get a handle on it, and then he creates the cops team, and you have the same characters. It's just that we're gonna amp all the intensity up to, like, you know, 1,000 or something, so that people get it, and it's not like, you know, why were these guys so bad again? Like, the crooks were never really that bad. When you watch the show, it's like, they were really, all of them were retarded, like every last one of them.
Missy Elliott, Misdemeanor.
I know, Misdemeanor.
Misdemeanor, friggin' Nightshade. And of course, you know, Strydent, you know, my all-time favorite.
Yeah,
man.
Buttons McBoom Boom, man.
Buttons McBoom Boom.
That was like the best.
Awesome.
Yeah, like if I was either a rapper or a porn star, that'd be my name.
That's an awesome name, friggin' Berserko. But yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Again, it's like you just like change the tone. It's like because you're right. It's like the it's like almost like this was in response to, like they said, like the worst crime wave, like this area, whatever this country's ever seen. So that's what you have. You have maybe even make it, since everyone loves to play, like, you know, law enforcement agencies don't like one another. It's like give it like the whole, like, well, because crime rate's so bad here, like the feds are about to take over, so local authorities put the word out, and they like recruit the best cops in their area from other areas to come and help them.
Oh, yeah. I like that. And get this, have private companies or private developers invested into the local, you know what I mean, as far as like being, they get a contract with the city as far as, like, you know what I mean, making their gear.
Oh,
you know
like PMCs and shit. Yeah, I get you.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying, Scott?
Yep.
Go ahead.
That makes sense.
I'm just jumping off of what you're saying, Scott. Go ahead.
Like, yeah, because that's what you do. It's like it could work that way. Where like this is the response, and even where there's something, even if you want to like have it to where, you know, nobody's safe, so to speak. Like, you know, you could bring in a lot more guys who you would think would make a lot more of a difference, but they get caught.
Yeah.
There's like some dude who, like, you know, who has something similar to Long Arm. Maybe he just like fires like a net or something, but that dude gets caught by one of the other crooks, and now he's out.
Well, this was the thing, right? Long Arm was supposed to be a beat cop, and they said his skill with power cuffs was like better than everyone else, but you never saw any other cops use power cuffs. So like shit like that, there would be some things that you'll see that are commonplace for these future cops, like the regular cops, that you'll see kind of incorporated in the cops team, the whole, you know, big central organization of police specialists, but you'll see it amped up so that you get like, this is the new version. This is what these guys use, not what the regular police use. Because there has to be a difference. In the show, there's not much of a difference because you never really see the regular cops before the cops team is, you know, set up. You only see Long Arm and Hardtop, and that's it. And there needs to be other cops that you show up to get killed so that you understand what the crooks are capable of, you know? You need to see, you know, like, what did Big Boss do to actually get this stranglehold on the city? How is he maintaining it, and how is he avoiding all the, you know, the limelight so easily? Like, just, it seems like you could take that in a hardcore direction with no problem, you know, and take it in like like an almost Expendables, like the first Expendables kind of, you know, shooting upper body parts off when they get hit by, you know, guns because the rounds are so, you know, powerful or something. I mean, I'm not saying that's what I would want to do, but I'm just saying you could go in that kind of level where it's like, the shit's violent. It's a rated R movie. You know, yes, it was based on a toy line that had a cartoon, but here's what it would be like if you took it seriously, you know?
Because even look at, like, you know, like obviously the toys had like, you know, very exaggerated weapons too, but they were like just about that exaggerated on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, when Berserker had like these two massive guns that looked like freaking book bags. They look like book bags full of books. I'm like, he's walking around and whips them out. I'm like, yeah. So
I
if
know.
one of those were to hit you,
yeah, these like 60 caliber pistols. You're like, shit.
like bingo, like you're not gonna just fall down. Like, ow. Oh,
Don't ever do that again.
thank goodness I was wearing my vest. No.
Yeah, you'll be
Vest
dead.
means nothing.
You'll be dead. Yeah, and you know, I just think that's one of the ones that's obscure enough that if you did make changes with certain things, like, you know, in the cartoon, Bulletproof got crushed while he was holding on to, he fell outside of a van, holding on to it, running alongside it, and then the driver bailed and it crashed and the building fell on him. That's how he gets cybernetics. In the comics, he got, I think it was a car bomb or something, and he got blown up, or the building was blown up. I would have him get shot as an ode to like RoboCop. It'd be the same shit. Like I'd straight up take the shots, the you know, the actual camera angles used in the in the RoboCop scene when Murphy gets shot up. I would replay that whole situation like a parody almost, just so people would be like, oh shit, that's kind of like RoboCop, and tie them together. I wouldn't necessarily just, you know, put him in the same gear and all that. I'm just saying, like, when it gets to that part, so that you understand, like, he's definitely 100% vested in getting these guys because they're the reason why he's got these cybernetics in the first place, why he needed that shit to save his life. And it's like their brutality is what pushed him to become so focused in stopping them, even more so than he was beforehand. But I don't know, Cops would be cool because, like I said, old enough, it's obscure enough, the fan base is probably small, so if you did it right, you could just gain a whole new fan base. If you did it halfway decent, you would at least appease the small bunch of fans that are out there right now. And I don't know. It just seems like one of those ones that they had good ideas, but they did not execute them right. You know?
I'm trying to think as far as like, I don't know, like as far as other properties, I'm like, I don't know, comics, it was like they really, well, they run through like, you know, first, second, third, like best, like third, like levels of like good ideas already. So I'm like, I don't, there's still a lot of other individual stories that can be told.
Yeah.
But as far as like characters and teams that they've never really touched on yet, I'm like, I don't really know about too much that jumps to the top of my head.
I'd try again at a Street Fighter movie, a live action Street Fighter movie. I would go to Hong Kong. I would get Donnie Yen and Sammo Hung to help me choreograph it, and I would only base it on the certain characters. Like this one, instead of using the military angle, I would base it more on the tournament. So you have a character that's a plant. They don't even have to be the one that wins the tournament. Ryu can still win all this shit. I don't care. But there'll be someone else in it, like say it's from, I don't know, Fei Long's perspective or another fighter, let's say T-Hawk's perspective, which would be crazy because he would have to fight in a more realistic, you know, almost UFC-ish kind of style, exaggerated UFC kind of thing. But even if he gets his ass whooped, the perspective of the story is from this guy as opposed to the ones everybody's been paying attention to. So you would get all those cool fights between all those other characters because it's a tournament. You know what I mean? It's just that the story would unfold from a different perspective than what we're used to. Maybe a lot of opportunities to team and pair characters up with each other. But the biggest thing is I would have every single character show up in the tournament so that you could get fights between a bunch of these characters. I would have, you know, choreography that really showcases what these styles would look like in real life. And that's the biggest problem with all these movies, man. They haven't done a good Street Fighter movie since the 90s animated one, the first 90s animated one.
Yeah.
And it feels like someone needs to just tell the second or third tournament, just don't go into all the other shit, you know, kind of briefly touch on those things as a means to get your character into the tournament so you know what they were doing before they got there. But when they get to the tournament, shit, even if you focus on Ken and Ryu, still do all these things, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would build it in a way that it doesn't matter who you focus on. You still are going to get all these fights. You're still going to get a pretty decent explanation for why things are working. the way they work, who's responsible for all these things, who the big bad is, who his subsidiaries are, you know, why he's even a threat in the first place. Because the games explain that he's been looking for a body, for a host body, because Alpha explains he's looking for a host body because he got so powerful that he can't contain the power in his current body. So, like, that would be some creepy shit to, like, have that be the reason. Kind of like, I started doing this when I was doing those Ultimate Street Fighter sketches or character designs, and it would make sense. You know what I mean? If that's the big thing. So that's his prize. If you beat everybody, then he's like, shit, you will be my next body. There you go. There's your story. There's your fucking story. And then you have either I'd have Samo and Donnie Yen or one of those two, or I'd take Isaac Florentine's people, the guys that do Undisputed and pretty much anything you've seen Scott Adkins as the star. I'd have them do the choreography, because I haven't seen movies with better choreography, and it's about damn time that we got a martial arts movie of Street Fighter that we can put in our pile of kung fu movies or martial arts movies, as opposed to all the other shitty versions that we've gotten. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, let's see. So for me, oh man, I have so many, but let's see. Let's go with Marvel. This is, of course, what I would like to see. And once again, just going off of one of their genres, just this little pocket universe that doesn't have to connect to any other part. But I would like to see either live action or animated. They could even do it all animated and then connect these three. In fact, it'd probably be better animated. And it would be better than the live action. But they could do both. I'd be happy with both. And that is Doctor Strange.
They're doing one. They're actually doing a Doctor Strange movie. That's one of the ones in the talks now. I think 2-3 years.
But here's the thing that I would want. You know what I mean? But you're right. They are, and I'm a big Doctor Strange fan. But I would want to connect that with Blade and Ghost Rider.
Yeah, Midnight Suns. That would be cool.
And have the Midnight Suns and put those three together in their own little supernatural universe. Like, I think that would be very cool. So whenever I would want that kind of thing, it would be, to me, a very kind of like Devil May Cry, supernatural action, you know what I mean, mysticism. And there's a lot of things they could deal with, you know what I mean, as far as that little pocket universe.
Yeah.
Of course, the logical thing most people will think of would all be the creatures, as far as like demons and vampires and stuff, but you can go further than that as well. You know what I mean? So there's other things that go along with that.
Who would you get to play Blade? Because Wesley can't play him forever.
Yeah, that's you know, of course, one of the ones I would pick would be Michael Jai White, of course.
Yeah, well, he's getting old, man.
But he's pretty old as well. Well, see,
he could still do it.
To redoing that Spawn, I think.
Yeah, that's what I heard. They want to.
You know, that's another one I want to. But here's the thing too. When I was saying about the Midnight Suns, I think it even worked almost even better as an animated kind of like series, don't you think? Doctor Strange, Blade, and Ghost Rider, because you could do, you know, a lot of versatility with that as far as animation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's no limitations, pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if you did it like, and think about it this way, guys, if they just made a movie of those three coming together, like the Doom, or, you know, the Apocalypse, you know, Justice League, whenever they do their little one-shot movie.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Throw a lot of animation quality, have Wesley just voice Blade.
That would be cool. That would be cool. And actually have some, like, choreography for the fights. Like an action director.
Yeah. Because not only do you have the supernatural creatures, but you could actually go into the whole thing that gods do exist. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? The mythologies of Africa, Egypt, European, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Thai, North America, South America, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's tons of things you can explore. Then you got elemental creatures, you know what I mean? Elemental golems, you know, fire, wind, water, you know what I mean? There's a lot of little things you could do with supernatural, you know, spells and people being like possessed by things, and, you know, even doing some kind of mystery, you know, who's what or what have you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how even mysticism connects with technology. We can even go into that route.
Yeah, so, that's true. That would be a good one. That would be a good one. What about Age of Apocalypse? That'd be a good animated, like, be-all, end-all Marvel film.
Oh, yes.
Why haven't they done that yet?
Because they don't have anybody good enough. Those people work for DC, and they know it. Because I think if Bruce Timm's crew did Age of Apocalypse, if they had, like, Jay Oliva, if he did the direction, or what's the girl's name again? Man, I can't remember her name now. She directed, huh?
Tara Strong?
No, she's a voice actor. This one is the she was the director. The girl I'm thinking of, she was the director of Crisis on Two Earths and Wonder Woman.
Andrea Romano, right?
No, that's the voice director.
Oh, sorry.
But I'll look her up and I'll tell you. But she's good. What you call it? She's a good director. She should be. She should do it. And if she did it, you know, I mean, she won't do it because she's works for DC.
Montgomery?
That's her name, Lauren Montgomery. Either her or Jay Oliva would blow that shit out of the water. It's just the fact that they don't work for Marvel. That's the biggest problem, is like you have certain talent that works exclusively with certain, you know, groups and or companies, and you know, some of them would be better working on some of this Marvel stuff, I think, or they'd be as good working on Marvel stuff too. Like,
I would look to get an animated series of the Infinity Gauntlet. I've been saying that for the
yeah, but see, that's one that needs the DC animated universe treatment, because there's a lot of like fat to trim off of that story. I have the whole thing, and I was reading it when they first brought Thanos into Avengers and all that shit. I was like, man, I haven't seen Thanos in forever. Let me look at that book. And I had Thanos Quest, I had Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War, though I had the whole saga. And
where he even created the Infinity Gauntlet, which is epic in itself.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there are some people, you know, these new geeks, I have to say it that way, that just think, oh, the gems are just there. No, there's a whole quest, and that's when I gained so much respect for Thanos that he had to construct that, and he got all 5 gems, like, and it's called Thanos Quest, where he goes and he creates this Infinity Gauntlet. And I thought that was, like, you know, the most epic thing. Like, God damn, this guy's not only smart, but he can fight. Like, you see all the different facets of his personality, because each one's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, don't forget that's half true. Like, he didn't necessarily create the Infinity Gauntlet. The Infinity Gauntlet literally is his right glove.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a part of his outfit, and
well, yeah,
so happens.
Well, I mean, it wasn't an object. It wasn't an object just sitting there, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, there was definitely, like, you know, some planning and like a lot of maneuvering that happened before this thing just like came about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the stuff that, like, they should make an animated version of that. That would be awesome.
And the only reason why I say that is because I was amazed that back at the time, remember the old X-Men from the 90s?
Yeah, Pride of the X-Men? Yeah.
Yeah, with the series with Jubilee.
Yeah, the 90s one, yeah.
Yeah, that shit is long.
Yeah.
And it follows the comic books. Like, they show when Charles and Magneto are in the Savage Land, and that was like 2 episodes or something. I was like, Jesus Christ, they really like went through the whole thing. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, Bishop shows up, and it is just, I think that thing's like 85 episodes or something. It's just way too long.
85 episodes.
No, but that's the thing with that that's interesting, because it's the exact opposite of the approach that DC took with the I guess the DCAU.
Yeah.
Where like there they took all their characters and like boiled them down to their essence and just like picked a point and moved forward.
Yeah.
Like Marvel, when they did the X-Men thing, they literally just turned their comics into animated episodes. And, like, it worked for them. Like both approaches worked. Like I said, I haven't watched What's the Name in a while. I haven't watched X-Men in a while, and I own most of the Justice League animated stuff, so that tell you. So obviously I thought highly of that. So, but no, that was good when it was coming, when it came out, and I was watching it like live, like as it was new. I remember being blown away by a lot of that stuff that they were going over.
Yeah, me too. Especially since
they did the Phoenix Saga. They showed the Shi'ar Empire. They had Gladiator in there.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, and it was happening kind of close to when these books were out. You know what I mean? Like, I remember buying some of that stuff just a couple years before the show came out. You know what I mean? And
right.
yeah,
I mean, think about the guts that is to, like, they could totally skip this cosmic thing, like, oh, the kids are not going to get it or whatever. Let's just keep it here on Earth. They're like, no, we're going to do the whole thing with space jammers, and Cyclops' dad is actually a space pirate.
Oh, the Star Jammers.
Star Jammers, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Star Jammers.
I forgot all about that.
They animated all of that. I mean, looking back, that's when I was, like, really blown away even more. Like, I can't believe the commitment they went through in doing this, because I was just like, oh my God, that's insane. So I feel they could truncated the Infinity Gauntlet, but still do it. Like you said, Strydent, they probably will survive the implosion, or the implosion that you guys were saying about the Geekdom universe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Busters. And, you know, Disney actually, if they were really smart to keep those guys relevant, they could do all these little gimmicks, and it would work. Because it would work on me. If they were ever tried to, like, merge things from, like, Star Wars and Marvel, that would be epic. I would be interested in that, just from a comic book point of view, or something animated.
Yeah.
I know it's not canon, but just to see that would be like, what the fuck, right?
Dude, that choice is all on them right now, so who knows? That might be a couple of people sitting around kicking those ideas around right now.
Exactly. Yep. After the implosion, they could so do that. Another gimmick they can do. Imagine if they turned over their animation studios towards Marvel.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be awesome. You know what I mean? Their properties, or just, you know what I mean? It's so, like you said, Strydent, I think they have, you know, they got Disney as their financial back. They're going to survive, at least be somewhat relevant. They'll just, you know, it might drop down, but they can do all of these little things to, you know, keep it relevant, or do these little gimmicks that will keep us talking about it. But DC, it's like, where's the variety? Where's your other, you know, where's your out? Or I shouldn't say out. That's not the right word.
I know what you mean. Like, where are they going, though? Where are they going with all this stuff?
Or relevancy. Like, you just can't keep doing guys in tights or women scantily clad. Like, what's her name? Power Girl with the big circle and everything.
Hey, she's classic. They just need to use her the right way.
Yeah.
Her new costume actually looks good, though. And that's one of those ones that I remember them getting all kinds of shit for that, you know? Hold on for just a second.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Scott.
I was gonna say we did bring up Berserk, so that was another one you might like to see.
Oh, Berserk. Ugh.
Yeah,
I'm sorry I missed that one. Berserk. Ugh.
Yeah, I waited till you weren't around.
You make me want to kill myself. Berserk is one of the most depressing series I've ever seen. Did you see the new stuff that just came out? I think it was like 2 new movies.
It's the same thing, just redone.
Yeah. But man, they just make it worse. Every time they redo that series, or they do an OVA or whatever, it's just like, God, man, it hurts more and more and more.
I love Berserk, dude. I don't know what it is about Berserk. It is the most bleak
Yeah, man.
slash I've ever seen, but I guess I'm waiting for, because we know it's almost like Spawn in a way, because he's got that brand of being like a sacrifice towards demons. And there's something special about him, kind of like the whole thing with Riddick. He's like the last of the Furians, and there's something special about him because he always escapes and he always knows how to fight. That's kind of like how Berserk is, because even the way he was, like, he's a survivor, but there's something weird about him, okay?
Yeah.
Which, you know, hasn't been revealed yet. But there's some redemption in the future. Like, you already know that, but it's not there yet. So eventually, people are waiting for him to catch up to what the demons are. And he's in the video game. They actually showed that what happened to him. Like,
which one? Is that the one that came out for the PS2 with the ridiculously awesome fight scenes?
Yes. Did you see where he had like this kind of like wolf armor?
Yeah, that was like bleeding. Blood was like bleeding through it.
Yes. It turns out he's got this like demon wolf spirit in him or something like that, and it like he has this armor, and I mean, that's part of who he really is. Like, yeah. So.
Huh.
So I was telling that to Scott that I would like to see that live action because, you know, like Hercules is out right now. They did Clash of the Titans. They did Wrath of the Titans. You know, like all of these sword fighting movies. And I think Berserk would be an interesting take because it's so dark and so foreboding and so
fucked up. Ugh.
Definitely worthy follow-up to The Hobbit.
Yeah, because
the fantasy genre, yeah.
Yeah, the fantasy genre, because some of them are just, they have the same kind of tropes, and this one actually is very, very different, I think. Like, you know, this guy loses his arm, loses his eye, I mean, you know.
Watches his girl get raped in front of him, like, by a demon in, like, hell of some sort. I was like, ooh.
I was going to say, yeah, that doesn't even, like, sum it up. Like, that was, that's why, like, you wonder when you played the game, like, yeah, why doesn't she talk? And then you watch the series and you know why.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh. Her mind is actually gone too. They said she regressed to like a
child. Yeah.
So, and I didn't know that. Like my first experience of Berserk, and you'll appreciate this, Strydent, was a game called Rage of the Berserk for the Dreamcast.
Oh yeah, I played that.
Yeah, I have it. So that was my introduction to Berserk. Like I had no idea, but it's all in English. That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is a cool game. And then the animation came out. And I was like, oh, my God. That's why she acts like a child and things like that. Now, I'm saying they don't have to show the rape, but they can imply. Like, it would just really turn the whole live-action hack-and-slash on its ear. Like, you look at the new Hercules that's out right now, and it's just, like I said, a paint by numbers. You get it. He's strong. Ray Park is the enemy, you know.
No, that's, what's his name? Scott Adkins.
Scott Adkins, I'm sorry. You're right. It is Scott Adkins. But you know what I mean? And I don't ever feel, I was telling this to Scott, I don't ever feel, you know, in Clash of the Titans or Wrath of the Titans, which I did see eventually.
Yeah, me too. I actually liked Wrath better than Clash. Yeah. Even though people hated both. I hated the first one with a passion, though. God.
Yeah. And I have zero interest in seeing Hercules, but I just said I don't think Berserk would be a blockbuster, but I think it would just have a cult following. Like people who didn't know would just go, "What the hell? Like this is serious." And I don't mean like Game of Thrones where it's like all amoral, like brothers and sisters having sex, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that kind of stuff, no. But like the action and the eeriness and the, I don't know, just weird imagery because you can go imagery because that dude hallucinate, like even in the manga books it's just weird imagery that you could play with the camera. Like the forest would seem to come alive. Like you guys seen Evil Dead 2, Sam Raimi?
Yeah.
Have you seen it? You see where I'm going with that, Scott? Like just the trees would look like they would have a mouth for a second, and like you could just do all these little weird things when he's not fighting. Just like this air of this demonic demon or presence like around him in a very interesting and compelling way, like Pan's Labyrinth.
Okay, yeah, if it's done in that kind of way, I feel you. Because what you were saying and what I know of Berserk, it seems like it would be more, it would lend itself more to the fucked up Evil Dead remake.
Yes.
That's the way that I think if a American director or somebody did it, they would go that route.
Right. And I mean, like, artistically weird, and like, it doesn't even have to be that violent. Of course, you could put the violence in there, because they're, like, either CG creatures or, you know, like in Pan's Labyrinth, like, I think that was a guy that had the eyeballs on his hands or something.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Strydent.
No, I'm just agreeing with you, yeah.
That's why it took me a while, but that's what I see in my mind. Like they could possibly, and that was like really, you know.
So do you mean a reimagining?
Yeah, reimagining. Thank you.
Because if you were to take out like some of the overly bleak and overly depressing stuff, yeah, I could totally see it being more engageable for other people. Like not people who are only fans of it because it's a weird and fucked up manga, but people who like sword and sandals dramas, because I mean it's about a berserker. That's the plot, and the whole concept of a berserker is something had to happen in his life to make him lose his grip on humanity and only be allowed to be used as a weapon. Right. That's what he comes from in Norse myth. That's what the idea is. So like the fact that the story has redemption at the end and he doesn't necessarily serve as just a berserker for like a big huge portion of his life, it's kind of weird because they took, it's what I always was talking about with anime. They always take a theme or an idea or a trope from something and then they just use the name and then they do their own thing with it. So yeah, if you re-envisioned it and kind of made it a little bit like, it could still be screwed up, but not necessarily, I guess if you direct it better, where you can allude to things without gratuitously, you know, harping and showing us every fucked up, gruesome detail. Right. You know, we'll get it, but we won't be traumatized 1,000% when we see it.
Yeah. I would want weird imagery like Jacob's Ladder or like American Horror Story or what's another one that's got like Event Horizon, like
oh Lord. Yeah, that movie
imagery like that, like just like these images that just like 4 second, you know what I mean? And even Sam Raimi did really well with his Evil Dead. There are parts of that where it's just like,
yeah, it's really creepy.
Just weird things with the camera, you know, just great things, you know, just to make it visually stunning, you know what I mean? Because we watch these fantasy hack and slash, and it's like, keep the camera here and just watch the CG scorpion and that's
yeah, you know? I know what you mean.
I mean, but we've been on this too long. We can move ahead.
What about the Nerds versus Thugs video that Burning Punch X sent us?
I haven't seen it.
You didn't watch it?
I didn't. I don't know what it is.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, wow. So there's this dude, you can look it up on YouTube then. There's this guy named Jason Black, and he brings up...
yes, I know who he is. I subscribe to him, actually.
Yeah, he brings up the reason why nerds lose to thugs all the time as far as, you know, getting women and stuff like that. And he explains how nerds don't really spend as much time with people. They spend more time with books, you know, with alternate media. I'm actually filling in the alternate media part. He just says books. He says they don't really practice their social skills. They focus on the myth that we're told when we're kids that, you know, if you cultivate your brain, you become the smartest, you will just, everything else will just come to you. And that's not true. And he's right. It's not true. You know what I'm saying? But he says, you know, thugs, on the other hand, they practice social skills and they forego everything else because they're always dealing with shit, you know, worldly stuff. You know what I mean? People and getting things that will allow them to look more, you know, attractive to the opposite sex, you know, things like that. So he just pretty much goes on to explain this over and over in detail and let you know that, you know, the nerds need to practice their social skills as well. In a nutshell, that's what he's saying. My issue with the video is it's not nerds versus thugs so much as it is like assholes versus the rest of the world. You know what I mean? Like anywhere you go, you're gonna have those charismatic people who they totally are disrespectful. They totally they just follow the trends. There's not much, you know, they're vapid. There's not much to them. And they get everything, and you'll see it. We see it all the time. We all grew up around at least one or two people we saw, or more, who they just got everything, and the rest of us, we're struggling to try to attain just a little bit of what they got, and they're doing it in a kind of an asshole-ish kind of way, especially when it comes to, like, the opposite sex. Women like assholes. It's just...
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say women respond to emotion and physicality and not logic on a purely primal level, not logic and not intellectualism or abstraction. You can find exceptions to the rule, but if you go anywhere around the world and if you have some kind of physicality or look good or feed into a woman's emotion, which a skill I actually learned because I was one of these geeks and nerds and things like that, and I know what I look like, but there is something about feeding off of a woman's emotion, like connecting with that. Because I talk I explain this to my wife a lot. We have a lot of these discussions about men and women relationships. And I said women, as far as women dealing with each other, bond over conversation. I say men bond over things and concepts and ideas.
Well, guys who shared activity.
Exactly. Guys who like motorcycles. Guys who like guns. Guys who like comic books and video games, they stick together. Women, for example, she's got girlfriends, and I wonder why they are friends. Because we talk and feel the same. I'm like, okay, all right. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see your connection other than they just kind of talk in this middle ground there, but there's nothing past that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I totally know what you mean.
Yeah. So women might be offended by what I say, but if you look at, and I'm talking about the entire world, you know, and women have come a long way as far as understanding abstraction and being attracted to intelligence, but for the most part, for what guys are looking for as far as like geeks, you are not going to beat them in the emotional department, confidence department, and the physicality department without like studying you are doing. I hate to break it that way. That's it. Go ahead.
No, it was an interesting thing because it was kind of like, remember there was that video about being different by this other guy, and he was pretty much talking about how I think his family was from the islands, one of the Caribbean islands or something. He's mixed. He was half something and half, you know, Caribbean of some sort. I can't remember exactly where it was. But he kept talking about what was acceptable in the black community and what wasn't. And if you don't fit in, if you don't like those things, you don't fit in.
Wait a minute. Did you see my response video?
Yeah, I saw your response where you were saying, like, do you want to fit in? Is that the problem? Because that's what it sounds like. And, yeah, I agree. It's like the guys doing these videos are pointing out some specific things, but it doesn't really, it's not as general as they made it sound. It's very specific to their situation. Like,
yes,
that dude saying, you know, if you don't like hip hop, then, and you don't like rap, and you don't like, you know, you don't watch BET all the time and stuff like that, then you can't fit in that culture. But it's like, do you really want to fit in that culture? Is that what you were trying to do? Is that your interest? Then he goes on to say that that's not his interest. And it's like, then what do you fucking care about if they don't like you or not? You know, you're not really trying to hang out with them. Then this guy, he says, you know, that, you know, nerds want books and they want to pay attention to, you know, cultivating their minds, and they want women to do that too. I'm like, but those women exist. Why don't you just talk to them? But if you have no social skills, then you can't really talk to them. So then, but if they're nerds like you that have no social skills, then wouldn't you both be able to have a conversation? Like, you'd be talking on that purely brain level. It would make sense, you know. Like, he was being really, I guess he was vague on exactly who it is he was talking to. You know,
I found mine. I mean, she's an engineer, and I got my computer science degree, so we two techies found each other.
I was going to say, I guess like the biggest issue would then be who actually speaks to who first.
Yeah.
Like, somebody would have to like actually make that move, you know.
Yeah. I don't know, it's just weird to me. The whole thing, I was listening and I'm like, wow, okay, this is a different, you know, perspective. And he brought up some things though. A lot of, like, number one, I guess before I even continue, I don't like how we've been labeled nerds or geeks because we have an interest in something that's not, that at one time was not mainstream.
Well, that's basically not physical.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what it is. If it's like anything that involves like
the
sitting
mind
down and like reading and like, oh yeah.
Who reads anymore? So yeah, I hate that because I'm like, when I was young, I read comics, but I had girlfriends.
Yep.
So like I'm not like, I don't think and I could fight. I mean, I always got into these situations where people that kind of knew me a little bit would be like, you got my back? And I'm like, for what? Well, so-and-so is going to jump me, and, you know, I need someone who could fight to watch my back on the way home from school. I'm like, I don't even know you like that. Leave me alone. Like, I'm not going to just fight for the sake of fighting, but because I did martial arts all through school, and I got into a couple fights in school, I was the crazy quiet kid. That's what they called me. I was crazy, so people didn't pick on me as much after I had those fights. And I also only had a select group of friends because it was we were the kids that, I called us like kind of invisible because people didn't really pay attention to us the way they paid attention to some of the other really dorky kids. You know what I mean? Like my parents, they bought my clothes. Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie. They definitely bought my clothes. But I was like 10 or 11 at the time. You know what I'm saying? Like I graduated younger than the majority of my class. But, you know, we were the proper age and we were doing the proper things at the time that a regular kid would be doing. We weren't into all the more adult shit. You know, we played with toys. We collected comics. We watched TV. Our parents sometimes picked us up from school and dropped us off. You know, we weren't like in a hurry to get a car and to move out of the house and do all that kind of shit. So it's kind of strange to me, you know, when they give us that blanket, we're all just nerds. All of us. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not really, everyone doesn't fit into that. So I hate that. And I know that was a long-winded explanation, but I hate that.
I think there is a difference between like black nerds and like white or Asian nerds. Because like when I went to Seattle and worked for Microsoft, right, I did technical support. I did software testing, video game testing, and all of that things when I was there. And I was mostly around white people and Asians, mostly Asian guys and white guys, you know what I mean? And I was invisible there. I mean, we're not even going back into when I was in college or in high school or anything like that, where it was much more diverse. But you know what I mean? This is clearly their environment in their world, right?
Yeah.
Anything I did that was just subtly, I don't know. Well, let me just say it this way. Anything I did was kind of cool. Just because I was...
Because you didn't fit the stereotype.
And to my other black friends, I was a fucking nerd. You know what I mean? I was a geek. But to them, it was like I was, you know, very cool. So they thought I was just a freaking unicorn, like a black guy who's cool, and then he knows all of this computer shit. Oh my God, I've never seen one of those before. Like, turn your head quick, the unicorn passed. You know, like.
Yeah, no, the encyclopedia didn't cover us in that section.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's one variation. You know what I'm saying? You're one version of this, and then there's other people who maybe they have no.
True.
You know, they have no, maybe based on where they grew up, they have no interest in some of these specific things because in their area that wasn't a thing. You know, like what if you grew up in Japan and the area you lived at, say you're a Chinese kid who grew up in Japan, all your friends are, you know, half American and half Japanese, and you guys are all into pop. Then when you go back to, say you ever go back to visit China, all the shit that was going on in China, you know, that your age group and your you know, little group should be into, you're not going to be into because you weren't exposed to that sort of thing. So if you're a dork for, you know, J-pop or whatever,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like you're a product of the environment.
Saying to that response to that guy, I said, you know, a lot of people think your ethnicity is your culture.
Uh-huh.
And I said your culture is actually your environment and what you're exposed to.
Yeah, you're more a product of your environment than anything else. The only thing that your genetics exposes you to is disorders. like white people probably don't have to worry about sickle cell anemia. Probably don't have to worry about Tay-Sachs disease.
Yeah.
Right.
Like because of our genetic makeup, but because of where you were raised, it's like, yeah, that makes you more of, like that has more of an effect on who you are rather than just the fact that you were born whatever persuasion you were. That is an accident of birth.
Right. That, and for example, you know, and I just did like 2 little quick comparisons, you know, when I was doing our response video, like, you know, I did the whole animal thing. Like, if you take a zebra from Africa and take it to Canada, it does not make it a Canadian zebra. It makes it an African zebra just in Canada. You know what I mean? And the same thing with something like me. Like, my ancestors are supposedly African. They could be from the islands. But what am I speaking? English. You know what I mean? My ancestors did not hang out with the Tudor family. You know, they did not climb the White Cliffs of Dover. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's really, so like what that guy was saying, like the whole, you know, black, you know, thugs versus geeks and things like that is just what you're exposed to what you personally like. Like, you know, some people, it hits them like, I like this comic book character, or I like this video game, or I like, you know, classical art. Yeah, or something. Yeah, I like country music or whatever, you know. And, you know, just some of that is by chance, and some of that is what you're exposed to. I only got really, really interested in comic books, get this, from my youngest uncle. My dad was the oldest out of, you know, out of the family, and then he had his other brothers. But the youngest out of his brothers collected comic books, and he gave me like 6 books. And the first one was The Avengers. Then the second one was this guy called Blade. I was like, and I was like, oh, there's a black guy with a sword. What'd you say, Scott?
What'd you say, Scott?
I said they probably had some nasty brown trench coat on and green glasses.
Yeah, green glasses, exactly. I was like, oh, what's this, right? He had Ghost Rider, he had the X-Men, he had, Silver Surfer. It was all Marvel, so that's probably why I started with Marvel. I mean, of course I watched the cartoons, but as far as reading, he said, you know, and he just gave it to me and said, oh, you know, check these out. Yeah. And that's really how I got into comic books. From him, it was passed down, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever else I was exposed to, so.
I guess
I'm gonna have to take off.
Yeah, I was just about to say, yeah, we're gonna have to wrap it up. But I don't know, I wanted to point out, though, that, like, in that situation, I do get that the traditional nerd has issues with communication. Because that's one of the things that, if you notice, when we have those regular kind of back and forths in comments, a lot of the more open-minded folks will say they spent more time doing this than they did hanging out with folks, so they come off a little abrasive sometimes and they don't mean to be. So, you know, and I've heard that more than once. So, you know, I'm just going to chalk it up to something that's a real world issue, you know what I mean? But I don't think everybody that's a fan of something or that's into or has a vast knowledge on some specific thing, I don't, number one, think they should be 100% labeled a nerd. Number two, if it's mainstream, then we're not really that odd, you know, because the stuff is mainstream now. What they're calling us nerds for, everybody does now. You know what I mean? So if you're not into it, maybe you're the one that's, you know, the oddity, you know, because everything's a little bit different. But I just don't think that stuff fits with everybody. And I think he was very specifically talking to a specific brand of person. And it was just kind of weird, man, because it came out of nowhere. But I don't know. That was my 2 cents. I thought you guys had seen the video ahead of time. You should check it out. It's kind of funny.
Okay.
But, yeah, no, it's been real. I'm glad we got a chance to geek out for a while.
Yeah, it's cool, man.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again. Yeah, you should hit me up on PS3, because I know. Do you have a PS3, RYASUKE?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should hit me up on there, and we'll play. Do you have Rainbow Six?
No, I do not.
Man, do you have Saints Row 4?
No, I do not.
Oh, come on. Do you have the Shadow Mystera Chronicles, the Dungeons and Dragons side scroller beat 'em up?
Oh yes, I want to get that.
You should get it, because we have it, and we've been playing it. When it works, it's awesome. Sometimes, you know, depending on the weather, it's hard to connect, but when we do connect, it's fun. So yeah.
You're like, Rosuke, what games are you playing?
Well, I know you mostly play fighting games. I just figured I'd throw out some other games that are easier to connect with a bunch of people, you know, because some of the fighting games, that's why I don't really play them that much, because of it's just one-on-one. That's it. You're done. And most people don't respect you having skills in the game, and I can't deal with the lack of the connectivity issues, you know, slowing down and speeding up, and fuck that. I played in the arcade. I play at home. Speed is not an issue. I want to just fight my enemy, not the enemy and the system, you know, and all that shit. But anyway, yeah.
I'm a retired fighter, you know, since I'm in my 40s, you know, I pretty much, I consider myself now the old retired fighter, you know what I mean? And I just fight the machine. I know that sounds weird.
Wow, I do it too.
But what I like about fighting games, unlike other games, especially if you're playing like something like, and it's nothing to take away from those, it's just my personal mindset. When you play a Devil May Cry or Tomb Raider or a BioShock Infinite, once you play that one time, maybe even a second time, you're kind of done, unless they give you some DLC. But a fighting game, to me, of course, I find the first character, I beat the game with a master, but to me, it's fun to play with different characters and solve the puzzle with each character or play as many characters as possible. And I have more fun like, okay, this guy is a brawler. I mean, not a brawler, like a grappler, like a Zangief character.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not used to playing this character, but let's see if I can beat the game using this character. This character doesn't do a lot of damage, but they're quick. How do I use this one? Or this one throws fireballs, you know what I mean? And I can play a fighting, especially if you have like 30 characters or something like Tekken, right? And I'm like trying to play all these characters. And so to me, it has tons of replay value. I can play it like 20 times, you know?
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
I'm back.
You disappeared. No, that makes sense though. You were just talking about fighting games versus, you know, every other type of game. And you know what the little things you can get from a fighting game that you can't get from the other types of games, you know, like replay value.
It's true, definitely built in to the nature of a fighting game, unless you're playing the new Killer Instinct and you only get Jago.
yeah,
Which I have to say, the music of that game is amazing. I found some of the music on YouTube and I was like, holy shit! Like the people who did the music, they get it. I'm not sure I'm really gonna get into the game, but I really dig the music, man. They did the damn thing. But anyway, I know
They're not asking you to play hard anymore.
yeah, with that word that sounds like penis. Yeah, nah, they changed that up, but some of the lyrics are still there. I don't know. I'm slightly impressed with the design team, but I think that the overall team, the marketing team, and all of them, they're a bunch of idiots. They just fucked up what could have been something good for people who remember the old game. Because there's a lot of people, I read their comments and I'm like, you didn't play the old Killer Instinct. You definitely didn't play. You didn't even play it on Super NES. You don't know shit about Killer Instinct. You're just talking. And that's the way it works. But
so hostile. Where does that come from?
What?
I said so hostile. Where does that come from?
From actually being there and being a part of that shit back in the day.
Hostile combo breaker.
No, monster combo. I hate when people fake the funk. That bothers me so much. I'm like, especially with things like I said, we've been passionate about games for a long time. So it's frustrating that now you have all these wannabes jumping in and talking about things that they don't really understand. I like talking to people who get it. You know, and if you don't get it, then learn, and then you can talk about it. And it's not like we don't have all this information at our fingertips. You know what I'm saying? It's 100% doable. Just do it. That's it. That's all there is to it, and we could move on from then. You know, but anyway, I guess we'll wrap up. I know you said you're on your way out, RYASUKE. So, like I said though, it's cool talking to you guys. I guess we'll try and set something up next time, or we'll jump on. Let me know when you do pick up that game, and then we can jump online and do it, because I finally got my PS3 fixed. So I will be online. All right. Well, it's been real. I will talk to you guys later. Yeah.
Okay, man.
All right, then.
Okay.